OTB AM.
The Sports Breakfast Show from Off the Ball.
All right, you're very welcome along. It's 7:30. It is Wednesday morning. I had to look that up there. It's the 2nd of August. You're very welcome along to OTB AM. Shane's here. Shane, good morning to you.
Morning, how are things?
Cameron's here. Cameron, good morning to you.
Good morning.
We're all about the culture wars on the show this morning because, you know, we like to do this kind of stuff. The good people of Ashbourne they're good people. This is no moral judgment on a lot of them who are Dublin fans living in Meath. I mean, are they supposed to stop? Are they supposed to celebrate it in the club? Is the club bar supposed to put up a video of them celebrating? I don't know. If you're a Meath fan, or, you know, a Kildare fan, or a Wicklow fan, or a Westmeath fan, and you're like, you know, swamped, do we send them back? What did the Tories say about this stuff? Burn the boats?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah. Burn the boats, yeah.
No dubs here?
Yeah. Out you get. Send them to... Is Meath the Rwanda of this situation? Yeah, okay.
And... well, maybe Ashbourne is, and the rest of Meath is.
Okay, yeah,
is
get
the
you.
broad sunlit uplands of the
upper
Tory wall.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, but it was interesting stuff, you know. There's
I think we have the clip. So
okay.
There is.
Well, I was going to say there's another culture war going on about the footballer of the year and the performance of
yes, of course. Sorry,
David Clifford. He was smoked, according to Paul Flynn, who wrote back a little bit from that, but then didn't really row back to the point of like taking down the smoked thing. So the smoked thing still exists.
I'm going to get the exact wording just so we're not doing Paul a disservice.
So footballer of the year, it turns out, has been like this Rorschach test for a lot of people. It's like, oh, it has to be Clifford. Who are you? If you don't think Clifford is. And then top scorer in the whole championship was Shane McGuigan.
He was. Yeah, Shane McGuigan, who had to come through an Ulster Championship.
He had a lot of gimmies, didn't he? He played a lot of Division 3 and Division... Oh, no, wait, he did not play Division 3 and Division 4 teams.
No.
And then I need to look back at there, he's full fixture list here before something. Well, actually, I'll find it.
Well, they played certainly Monaghan in an Ulster semi-final, Armagh in an Ulster final, Fermanagh before that in a quarter-final. Then they had a group with Monaghan, Donegal and Clare, and then they beat Cork in the quarter-finals before losing to Kerry in the semis. That's not a gimme at all. Like, you wouldn't say there's a handy game in there. But yeah, Paul Flynn's comments on David Clifford. So he tweets August 1st, so the other night, 12:37 a.m. Clifford was smoked against Dublin and poor against Tyrone, yet still people think he is footballer of the year. Not for me. James Mack led Dublin to glory without having his best day yesterday. He's a born winner and leader. And then he, of course, replies and retweets his own tweet 17 hours ago. It says, bit of controversy regarding my last tweet. Do I think Mitt Fitz got the better of Clifford? Yes. Do I think Clifford was player of the year? No. Do I think he's one of the best in our generation? Yes. And top ambassador for the game. No more midnight tweets. And then the same zip emoji that Kitty McKidd made use of. So, I mean,
define smoking. What's smoking in that sense? Because I do remember an occasion where David Clifford left Mick Fitz on his arse at one point.
He did not smoke David Clifford.
No.
There's no way he smoked him, because Clifford still got 2 points from play, that the unbelievable pass for the Guinea goal. Like,
and Fitzsimons gave away a free when he took the jersey.
Yeah.
A third score, and then there's the 1-1. Clifford played well below what his expectations are and what our expectations of him are. And how much credit do you give to Fitzsimons for that? I would give a fair bit of credit to Fitzsimons for that. But it was more... they both certainly Fitzsimons emerges with credit.
For sure. Yeah.
Interesting that again, to the point about the culture war, Ger Shane in his piece today, he picked Fitzsimons in his team of the year. He's picked him at full back, and what the Lord giveth with one hand, he taketh away with the other. Did well throughout the season, even though he got a fair bit of help with David Clifford on Sunday. It's like,
wow,
I'm putting you in my team of the year, but I sure shit I'm not giving you all the credit for that, because I saw that tweet too.
Yeah,
and we're going to defend our boy.
Yeah, understandably. But Well, if Clifford earned many shooting opportunities for himself on Fitzsimons, he just didn't take them.
Well, or were they bad? Should he not have taken them?
He should have taken them, yeah. There's a few of them that he definitely should have put over based on his standards.
Or should he not have been shooting from there? Was it because Fitzsimons was in his head? And look, Fitzsimons, in fairness, got a free turned over that would have been a handy free that the Dubs score a point from, and like sliding doors moments.
Yeah. And a couple of the shots at the end that were wayward from Clifford were probably him panicking and going, I have to do something crazy here.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, right, there was a bit where he was he's on the 21 or maybe slightly outside it, and this was kind of right in front of us, and he starts to dribble around, slaloming through people and take the shot. And if that shot had got in, you're looking at, oh, look what he did.
Yeah, one of the great scores.
Yeah, it felt very Katie McCabe against Canada, actually.
So not smoked, I don't think.
No.
I don't think by any proper measure. If he'd been held scoreless from play,
I expected Paul Flynn in his
no creativity, you know.
His backup tweet, I expected him to reference the smoked term. I expect him to maybe roll back on that a little bit, because I don't think anyone thinks he was smoked. Fitzsimons had a good game on him.
But isn't it interesting that like maybe this is what the Dubs actually think in their private moments? Like Fitzsimons. So the bit about the GOAT. That got on the GOAT of a lot of people who are not from Kerry. That, like, one of the first things that somebody who was wearing a Dublin jersey said to me after was like, wow, where's Clifford's GOAT status now?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? He's 24, it's too early. And I guilty as charged, Your Honour. We did anoint him the greatest footballer of all time. Well, I don't know. But he's
certainly of this generation. He's
yeah, but that's not what GOAT stands for.
No. Like, I have the utmost respect for this Dublin team and the lads who have the 9 All-Irelands and the 8 All-Irelands, but I think there is a notion in Dublin that there can't be a GOAT that's not from Dublin. Like David Clifford, I think there's a little modicum of jealousy in Dublin surrounding David Clifford and the aura around him, because we have him on a pedestal. There feels to be that little bit, because I think they think we are the greatest team of this generation, and Dublin are the best team of this generation.
Yeah,
but they don't have the best player. They do not have the best single player of this generation. I don't think that can be argued.
I think like there is a case for James McCarthy being one of the greatest footballers of all time,
sure. And he's Dublin's greatest.
And you can make that case. He didn't have his best game on Sunday, and I think that will, like All-Ireland finals count double, so I think that may well make him less likely to be Footballer of the Year. But I don't know if you can give it to Clifford after that performance either on Sunday.
I think you can. Again, it's not the player of the fortnight. It's like,
but is it not that it's so pivotal to their success whether he plays well or not? That as long as he above breaks even,
he's a victim of his own success.
Win, right?
He set his own bar so high that we expect unbelievable things from him. Like if any other player scores 4 points too from play and kicks that unbelievable pass for Gainey's goal, you're like, right, that's a 7 out of 10 performance. For Clifford, it's a 5 out of 10 performance. Like,
yeah, but that is they're the rules of engagement when you're talking about the greatest of all time. Do you know?
Yeah, I suppose when you know what they can do.
So is Fenton Player of the Year? Like, really? He could be, because Fenton was amazing in the semis when the going got tough, and then as the game is in the melting pot, he's like, I'm out for a Sunday stroll. Boom, thanks very much. Oh, was that like an all-time great point? Yeah, it was. Is Fenton their greatest ever footballer? I don't know. See, the thing about Clifford is it's very difficult for him to like dominate a game when you're up front and the team is not performing well. Whereas from midfield, you can influence, like as a deep-lying midfielder, James McCarthy can influence games and therefore seasons in a way that it's harder for players in the full forward line to do, because he is totally reliant on the quality of the ball going into him. And the quality of the ball going into him, by the way, was nowhere near as good as it has been, and that's to Dublin's credit. And I think that's the help that Ger Shane is talking about that Mick Fitzsimons got. There was a few balls that were out in front of Clifford where he was able to get out, get a step, and the first point he scored was like delicious.
The favourites,
they stopped putting those balls in.
They did. The bookies have at the moment, so the top 6 for Footballer of the Year: Shane McGuigan 33-1. You've Colin Pascal 14-1. Stephen Cluxton 12-1, along with Brian Fenton at 12-1. David Clifford 6-4. James McCarthy 8-15.
So this is a player's vote, right? There has to be a shortlist announced sooner rather than later, at which point a load of those come off the board.
Yeah.
And then the betting will calcify around. And maybe there'll be a backlash against the Dubs from the rest of the country because of stuff like, he was smoked.
Is Cluxton not the footballer of the year?
Cluxton could well be the footballer of the year.
Like,
there might be a very good case for Cluxton. Like,
won the All-Ireland again, came back, didn't concede a goal until the final, wasn't it? And then kicks the 45, plays well.
And the goal that he conceded is one of the all-time great All-Ireland final. Like, the skill that Gainey has to not foul the ball in the moment under pressure from the Dubs, I think it was sensational.
Yeah.
And also, like, I had a chance over the last 24 hours to go back and look at the pass. Look at the wild eyes of Clifford.
Yeah.
You don't know where it's going, but he knows exactly where it's going. He's like, I can see him.
Well, it's the movement from Gainey was outrageous because he shimmies and then points. He's like to Clifford, I'm going this way, but I'm going back that way. So he goes like this to throw off the defender and then runs back. It was like Clifford happened to look up at the very moment Gainey was pointing, it was just perfect. Chef's kiss.
Hopefully the cameras and the angles start to emerge over the next few days of like proper high end,
breaking it down,
super slow mo. And what that does, I think, is it enhances the case of Cluxton that it needed this moment of genius to beat them.
And his kickouts were impeccable as well. Dan Delaney is just after commenting on the YouTube, absolutely no case for Cluxton to be footballer of the year. Why? How? Like,
was he not man of the match?
Like, as in not officially, but should have been.
Yeah. Now, in retrospect, dust has settled. I thought Fitzsimons was. I've kind of looked back at stuff and thought he did play very well. I think he was definitely a nominee for man of the match, and I think it was an 8 out of 10 performance. And I think that some of the shooting is because he's in his head as well.
Yeah.
Whatever presence, or I don't know if there's conversations, whatever happens, like some of the radar is off. You have to give some of the credit to that for Fitzsimons, and that's the win of the game. 3 more points, which you would have expected, wins the game. Like, so I don't know, the pinging of the ball, the way he pinged the ball under pressure, and we were like, it's a 45. That's like no big deal, but like it did suck the life out of the stadium. From a Kerry perspective, like, we've seen this before, haven't we? Yeah, we have seen this a good bit before.
And also the first 45, like, there's not much is going to be said about it because it's the first score of the game. But like, both Dublin and Kerry were clearly nervous in those opening minutes. I think Howard hits a wayward shot, but before that, Shawnee O'Shea drops the ball short. Both teams are nervous, and then Cluxton, obviously dead ball. Everyone's nerves are calmed from that point on, and then we have a game in our hands. So like, you can't just underestimate what the stress of a 45 in front of an 82,500 Cedar Stadium on All Ireland final day. Do you know?
Yeah. Is there ever Shane McGuigan
to be footballer of the year? I think if Derry had got to the final, there'd be more of a strong argument in favour. I
mean, bear in mind, I'm the points count double in the final, so it's very difficult to. Now, Bernard Brogan did win it.
Yeah, McGuigan was quiet against Cork in the quarter, which counts against him.
And he was outshone by Brendan Rodgers in that semi-final, wasn't he?
Rogers was the best.
Yeah, he did get decapitated, punched in the head, taken out from the side. He was, was he targeted?
Kept under wraps.
Is it fair to say he was targeted?
Well marshalled, yes.
Yeah, well marshalled. Live by the sword, die by the sword. Anyway, look, give us your views. 087 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. You can leave a comment in the YouTube stream, as many of you already are. You can tweet us at Off The Ball AM. The other culture war that's going on at the moment is the Dublinification of the rest of the country. That slow, steady, gelatinous creep of the suburbs and stealing the. They're coming for you, Monaghan boy.
Makes me sick. Yeah, Carrick Cross in South Monaghan is turning into a commuter belt potentially. Yeah, a lot of people, Dublin people, living in Carrick now.
You want to be careful about that.
That's where it all starts.
Burn the Dublin jerseys at the border. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. There should be searches. I don't agree with a border, generally speaking, but
in this instance, you're going to Dublin. For you, I will make an exception.
Searches would be just for other county jerseys, Dublin jerseys.
So, what's the story here is that
Dunamore Ashbourne, the club in Meath. So, of course, the Talton Cup final was on recently, and then, of course, the Dublin final at the weekend. And we were wondering, did they even show the Talton Cup final? Because the clip we're about to show you, and trigger warning for those affected by things that might make them gag this early in the morning. But this is in Meath, and this is a video of the Dunamore Ashbourne clubhouse and bar during the All-Ireland final on Sunday. Have a look.
For our listeners, explain what's happening.
Yeah, so it's basically
A sea of blue
an
there.
absolute sea of Dublin fans clapping, standing on their feet, supporting the Dubs.
A camera has panned, in fairness, from one side. So we're obviously, the TV is behind us, and a camera has panned, and on the right hand side is the bar, and on the left hand side is the windows that look out onto the pitch, to one of the training pitches.
Yeah, again,
There you go.
And I'm estimating casually
no-
a couple of hundred.
Russian Ministry of Propaganda watermark in there at all. It's definitely genuine.
No, and this is off the. It's an Instagram reel.
Yeah, it's the
Story.
club's official social media.
No, it's the bar
Oh, it's
in
the
the
bar
club,
in the club. Okay, right.
which
right.
is not technically the club, of course.
right.
So the club didn't put this up, but the bar in the club, which you would suspect might be connected to them, and they're like, yeah, no problems. Now, we obviously talked about this yesterday. Tommy brought it up.
He did.
Well, maybe I brought it up, and Tommy refused to speak about it and then spoke about it. And I think people in Meath are concerned, They are concerned.
So they should be, yeah.
Now, we were speculating incorrectly, as it was, and we should not speculate. It was wrong of us to speculate about such an important matter. This is a very, very important matter, and we should not.
Let's clear the air, I think.
There's no fun in this. There's definitely no crack to be had in this, right?
No, Jesus,
this
no.
is a serious matter. Apparently, the Talisman Cup final was shown in the same place as the All Ireland final was shown, and so we were corrected by that by a concerned member, or
It's someone I think linked certainly to Ashburn and to the club, I would imagine, as well. So they have sent us on 3 bullet points, and they felt, of course, compelled to point these things out. As you've just said, Ger, he said Donaghmore Ashburn GA club did show the Tottenham Cup final, and there was a huge push for tickets around the club. Their second point was, although there are lots of Dubs who play a great part in volunteering in Donaghmore Ashburn, this is a very well cropped video to the turnout on the day.
so there was loads of Meath fans wearing Meath jerseys on the other
So,
side
did I
of the
say
camera? Is
one
that what
Meath
it was?
jersey?
I think it was a Newgrange situation where we only saw the sliver of Dublin.
Yeah. And the third point was also, I wouldn't be surprised if most of the Meath fans watch this one at home, as it's a stark reminder of where Dublin and Meath are in contrast to the 90s.
Oh, shots fired there.
Yes.
And look, is it wrong? I don't know. Does it matter? Explain to me if it does.
Oh, it does matter.
Well, you're from where you're from. Are they supposed to stop being Dubs because they've moved county? Like you lived in Dublin
Yeah.
and stopped being a Monaghan fan.
Well, no, I haven't.
Exactly.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Well, there aren't, the pub beside me in Dublin isn't putting on a watch party for Monaghan fans. Oh, sorry, the GA club.
Well, the All Ireland final is on in the local GA club. Hardly a watch party. Now, we are told that sometimes buses do be organised to be going to the games in Croker from the club, and sometimes, I don't know, is the same effort going into getting the kids to support Meath? It's a hard one. Like, who do you want your kids to support
Sorry.
if you're from a place?
The concern for me is not that the match was shown by Donaghmore Ashburn. I understand it's All Ireland final day. I completely get that they're going to show the match on TV. The concern for me is, I would imagine, and I'm speaking on behalf of Meath people here, but I would like to think 90% of Meath fans wanted Kerry to win that match on Sunday. Let's be realistic. Dublin and Meath have had a traditional rivalry in Leinster. 90% of them wanted Kerry to win.
Can confirm it's a rock and a hard place for Kildare supporters. It was like, come friendly bombs and fall, and it's the end of civilization, and we never find out who won. We'd be happy with that. Yeah, we would have been happy.
That's
with that.
because Jack O'Connor.
And the 98 team as well. It was a great day for Kildare.
Of course, yeah. Not tough at all. My issue is not around the game being shown. It's the fact that it's just a sea of Dublin jerseys. I would have expected Donaghmore Ashburn are showing the match. Everyone's going to land down in their Meath jerseys, supporting Kerry. Similar colours as well. Kerry.
Yeah.
And that would be the case. It was the fact that it was. I don't agree with the commenter saying it was a well cropped video. I mean, panned around enough.
I got a DM from somebody. Sickened me when I saw it. I'm a member of the club and a massive Meath fan. I actually tweeted it out for people to see, as the person who tweeted it didn't see a problem with it. No problem at all with the influx of Dubs to the club, as it's helping us grow and get better, but just do not be putting that video out there. It adds more fuel to the fire, as we get enough slagging as it is.
It's just because it's Meath in Dublin, isn't it? If a Thai GA club were showing this game and there was a sea of Dublin jerseys, I'd be just as sick.
Well, we're in the south of the county. I don't think there's
True, yeah, it's not an issue.
There are some Dubs who've moved down.
fresh.
Someone in Selbridge, say, or Maynooth maybe.
I'd say there could be similar
Scenes
things
going on.
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
Um,
So the concern, the concern is not with Donaghmore Ashburn GA Club showing the match. It's also not with the great Dublin people involved in the club and who live in Ashburn now because it's too expensive in Dublin. And look, it's still expensive in Ashburn, but at least it's a little bit further out. It's more just general friendly concern that there were so many Dublin jerseys at a club where I would have liked to have seen a little bit of Meath support / Kerry support, given the rivalry. I did genuinely gag and half, sorry for people eating their breakfast, half feel like puking when I saw it first. So that is a fact.
Definitely not. No, this is not funny. It's too serious. It's
way too
not
serious.
a laugh matter.
What would be the analogy for you, Shane,
Well,
in terms of Monaghan? Because I think if I found out that
if Monaghan Harps GA Club put on the All Ireland final and it was
If Monaghan Hearts put on the Six Nations and everybody arrived down in their England jerseys, I think
Basically,
it's
yeah.
similar enough.
yes, or Cavan won an All Ireland final and everyone landed in their Cavan jerseys,
Okay.
or their own
Declan
jerseys.
Rice jerseys.
Like that would cause me concern. It's a similar enough thing.
Michael says, all three of you are examples of this. It's a big factor to Dublin GA success. A lot of rural Ireland moved to Dublin, so we were forced to move out to find a home.
That's fair. I get that.
Like the cuckoo bird.
Yeah.
We moved in.
You don't drive from Ashburn into Dublin for the day and go to your old local. Go into
the history of the Dublin, the early success of Dublin GA was certainly apparently driven by a lot of coaches coming up and being, well, we're going to play football here and getting good at it. So, but now you're reaping the rewards of it. You're like, no, screw you. We've got the football of the year. I don't care who it is. It's just one of ours.
Do we want to? Do people want to change the map and stretch the border of Dublin into around Ashburn? Is that where we're headed here? Has the Pale just got bigger?
I don't think that'd be a very popular decision.
Don't think so.
Shane. I have a really good friend from Ashburn, and I was like, "Oh, that's in Dublin," and we didn't speak for.
And are they a
after
fervent
that.
Meath fan?
No, they don't care about GA at all. So even on a purely geographical basis, it's a bone of contention for them.
See, I'd say now, if you said that to the lads sitting in the front row in their Dublin jerseys, they'd be like, yeah, we are, a little enclave. We're Las Malvinas, except, the other way around.
Yeah,
Like Donaghmore Ashburn have some like Brian Mitten was a Donaghmore Ashburn player. They have some absolute Meath legends in that club.
Now, it's actually closer to Croker than it is to Navan if you're organising buses. So,
Affinity.
I don't know. Maybe somebody from the club will come on and talk to us a bit about this, and I'm sure it must feel a little bit. I don't know. Does it feel normal when they're all playing together? You'd hope it does.
Yeah.
Shouldn't the kids be in Meath jerseys if they're being brought up there? Says David Clark. My mum is Galway, dad is Westmeath, but I'm a Rosie, and it's the only jersey I'd wear. Like, I feel that way. I feel like my kids are growing up in Dublin. They should be Dublin supporters. I know other members of the team who come from other counties, perhaps out west, are buying the jersey of the. I don't know. I mean,
But your kids will grow up.
Right and wrong.
They'll grow up Dublin fans, but they'll have a soft spot for Kildare. Like,
No, they won't. They'll try and.
No.
well, no. You see, my dad was. I grew up in Monaghan, but my dad was from Galway,
But
and
you never play each other.
as in.
You never. It doesn't
On
matter.
Galway, yeah. I always had a soft spot. I used to wear Galway jerseys. I was at the All Ireland
I'm
final
a
last year.
rebel,
in a Galway
but
jersey.
I have a soft spot for the Empire. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe, but I think you always have a soft spot for the county of one of your parents.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But what's your priority?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Now, I say this as an Antrim hurling fan and a Kildare football fan, so, clearly the split personality thing is strong within all of us, and the hypocrisy, the rank hypocrisy of us.
Yeah, well, it's your kids can wear whatever, like as Nathan Murphy well knows, your kids can wear whatever jerseys that they want.
Yeah, that's who I was getting at there.
Yeah.
Michael says, exactly, my son plays for the local club in Carlow, and this is where we live now. I have other friends from Dublin that moved out, and their kids play for the local team, so we'll spread the players out. It's true, and look, in the long run, Ashburn will benefit from this, but will Meath benefit from it? I don't know. Will some of those kids decide that they want to play inter-county for Dublin if they get really good? And are Dublin taking some of those players from outside their county borders? I mean, are they? Is that happening? I think it might be. Surely not.
Have we blown this shit wide open?
Possibly. Now, the thing, right? So Ashburn, Dunmore Ashburn's last Meath Senior Football Championship, they've won 3 in their history: 1927, 1928, 1942. So people of Ashburn come together. Even if your parents are from Dublin and you're forced as a kid to wear Dublin jerseys, you're going to grow up playing for Dunmore Ashburn. That's why you're in the clubhouse at the weekend. So you're watching this in 10, 15 years. helping Donegal Ashburn win a Meath Senior Championship. You have to play for Meath. If you're good enough, you play for Meath. Dublin aren't your county.
7:54. Here's what's coming up between now and 10 o'clock this morning. Chloe Morey is going to talk to us to preview the Camogie final on this Sunday. Andy Mitten's going to talk to us about Manchester United's tour of the United States, the ownership situation, and anything else you're having yourself. Julianne Russell is going to talk about the great career that Niamh Fahey has putting together. Is it over from an Ireland perspective? We shall see. Alan Quinlan. The World Cup is upon us. One World Cup is dead, the new one begins. And then Daniel Whiffen was on the show last night talking about his incredible breakthrough season as Ireland's best swimmer in the men's. We
started the conversation yesterday on in the office, or the day before in the office, about Dublin's win and how fervently Jet McCaffrey was celebrating. And it got us all thinking, where does this rank?
Stephen Doyle was power ranking them, wasn't he?
He was. So the nine since 2011.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it, being a dub, you know?
It must be
Which
so
of
tough.
my 9 children are my favourite? Well, maybe you should, get the L snip there, Dublin.
It's not an easy one. I don't know, what do Dublin fans think? 2011 was obviously 16-year gap, massively important, and the most recent one, 2-year barren spell, and probably because it's historic, it's the 9th as well. I asked Sean Potts this yesterday when I was texting him, public in a course in Dublin, and his opinion was it almost rivals 2011. People in tears again, and it was excruciatingly dramatic last 10 minutes. If and probably when the older crew step away, they will do so at the very pinnacle. You rarely get that luxury in sport. So maybe this is second, or maybe joint first for some Dublin fans, I feel. Maybe there was one in the middle. 2015 was important, beating Kerry as well.
Does the quality of the final come into it? That's what I want to know.
Possibly, yeah.
Is it the worst quality in terms of overall football the final is, the more tense and exciting it becomes?
I think the proximity to disaster is what makes it great.
Yeah. So the replay ones have to be up there as well then.
Top of the morning tea is the Grand Mannion, and it's a picture of Paul Mannion at Smithfield. This was obviously from the other night when they were celebrating, and the comments are embargoed, and he's like, I came back for one last tour, right? That's basically what he says at one point. And then it's like, on the other hand, if everybody else decides to say, it's going to be very hard to say no. So I've gone from being like, well, that's it now, they're not going to, it's great. I agree with the person who told me, sure, they won't even win next year tonight. Oh my God, please just stop. It's enough. Congratulations, you've broken all the records. Go away now.
Yeah,
go away.
The drive for 10, what are they going to call it next year? They'll come up with something for it. Dan Delaney says 2017 versus Mayo seemed like a huge one too. Michael says this one is the sweetest, in my opinion, been at all of them, even 95, and this feels better than 2011. Better than 2011.
Well, I can see that 2011 is like just this dam burst of, it's great, we've won All Ireland, we've no idea how good the team is. Now they've franked themselves as like, you've witnessed the greatest collection of footballers that have ever existed.
Yeah.
Like the legend of so was it Paddy and Mikey Shee? Was there somebody? Did Jacko also have 8? But the legend of those Kerry footballers is the type of thing that has sustained Gaelic football's glamour for
it's 7, Jack,
half a century. And that's what this team are doing. They're injecting history and like showbiz at the same time into the game, and so I can see why, if you're a Dublin fan. I mean, I don't know, I have no idea what this is like again. I just have bitter jealousy.
It's because they all returned.
It's Magnificent Seven, Last Dance. It's like whatever bad pop culture analogy you want, you could apply it to this, and nobody can correct you because they wrote the bloody Hollywood ending. Like Cluxton, what? How did this happen?
Yeah, it seems like on a whim, doesn't it?
Did this happen? Yeah, you'd wonder.
I would argue an element of schadenfreude comes into it too. I certainly feel. Dan Delaney's mentioned in the YouTube comments 2017 versus Mayo seemed like a huge one. That's the one that hurts the most for me.
That's the Mayo goals.
Yeah,
the own goals was the draw.
The own goals was the own goals was the year before, and 2017 was the Keegan goal. They got way early on. Now
you have it as the Keegan goal. Is it Keegan throwing the
GPS? Is that 2017?
Is that 2017?
I think it might be as well. Yeah.
Let's just get this right.
Yeah.
There's so many we had.
A way of searching this.
Search engine. Yes. What year was it?
No, that's the Clifford 4-4.
That's 2017. The GPS. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that was an unbelievable one.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Like, Dublin fans, let us know, how do you rank them 1 to 9? For me, I can't see how 2011 can be beaten, But then again, for Dublin, it's a very personal thing. It's where you were, who you were with, how you watched the game as well, how you felt. No two Dublin fans are going to have the same order 1 to 9, I'd imagine.
I like snowflakes.
Bang on. That's the first reference this morning. There could be some more coming. Certainly the comments are obviously always one of them. It's 8 o'clock. You're watching OTB AM. We're delighted to be with you this morning, wherever you are. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'll let you comment freely. You can also follow us at Off the Ball AM. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. You know what I'm talking about. On X.
X.
Yeah.
I'm on X, bro.
All right. Big game this weekend in Camogie. They take over the entire GA narrative, hopefully. But I'd say Chloe Morey is with us. Chloe, good morning to you. How are you?
Hey lads, how's it going?
Good, thanks. One of the things about the microwave season is that everything gets a bit telescoped. As a Camogie player / fan / supporter, how do you feel the season has been covered in somewhat of the shadow of the big games that have been coming thick and fast?
Yeah, to be honest, I'd say the whole season's probably taken over with our, the GPA and kind of our protests throughout the championship. But it is quite condensed. I suppose I'm speaking as a club player as well. There are plenty of girls who are only itching for matches as well, and I think from that point of view, we start our club championship now in the next week, so our junior players are actually in the first match of the day on Sunday. So I'm looking at it from a club point of view and a county point of view, and there's girls going for about 10 months at a time. It's just a constant, and it's the same with all inter-county players. In terms of the media coverage and stuff, like I said, it's probably unfortunately this year been overshadowed by the protest, but what can I say? I think we're in store for a really good match on Sunday, or 3 matches even on Sunday. It is hard for any journalist probably to cover the matches as they're coming between the hurling, the football and the camogie. But look, we get on with it, and we're looking forward to great finds on Sunday.
We'll talk more maybe as the conversation goes on about the rest of the season. So let's preview the final, and the Waterford story is really remarkable, where they've come from in the last couple of years. You would have come up against them. Have you sensed this has been brewing over the last 5 years, or has it largely come out of nowhere?
No, it probably has. I mean, Waterford have been on the up for the last number of years. Myself as a Clare woman, and I playing with them, along them, beside them, against them, probably annoying for me. I'm quite jealous because we would have thought we were on the same trajectory as them. But to be fair, they've put in an amount of work. They have some superb players, and I think everybody except anybody in Cork is going for Waterford. They beat Cork the last time they played, 118 to 115. Cork definitely don't like that. So I think it's going to be a huge occasion for those in Waterford. I hope that occasion doesn't take over the Waterford players. They have some superb players, and they probably actually play very similar to Cork. It's going to be very much a running game on Sunday. You'll see it's very athletic, the players that they have, both Cork and Waterford. We played Waterford ourselves very early on in a challenge match this year, Clare, and it was feisty to say the least. But we have a habit in Clare of beating or playing people who get to the All-Ireland final and beating them. We did the same against Kilkenny last year, and they ended up winning it. So maybe that might be a good omen for Waterford, but it's class. They're going to have an amount of support. They're suggested that it could be a record-breaking attendance for Camogie because of that Waterford support. So it's going to be a huge occasion. I think there's going to be a lot more people tuned into it just to see how Waterford get on. Second time ever reaching a final. It's going to be brilliant.
They were intermediate as recently as 2015, so obviously a huge amount of work has gone in at underage level and proper coaching and structures and everything. But as you point out, that's great, but you need the good quality players. So for people who are tuning in on Sunday who maybe haven't seen that much of the season so far, who should we be looking out for?
Probably someone who's going to be, she'll probably get Player of the Year or nominated for at least. Beth Carkin is immense. She has 3 All-Stars already. She's only, is she 24, 25? She'll be playing around centre forwards, but you'll see her all over the pitch. She tends to go back into the half-back line, pick it up, and she could score anywhere from probably midfield on. She's the free taker as well. Beth is superb. Very hard to mark. You think you have her, but you definitely don't. She can shoot from anywhere. So for Waterford, you have Beth Carton. You have probably someone who's incredibly underrated in terms of her work rate, Captain Lorraine Bray. There's going to be a really good duel there between herself and Saoirse McCarthy. I feel Saoirse McCarthy also probably a shoe-in for getting nominated for Player of the Year. She's an immense player for Cork. You have Niamh Rockett. As the name suggests, she's incredibly fast. It just so happens she'll also be excellent. She'll be on the wing probably for Waterford, but very hard to stop when she's running. So you've Lorraine Bray, Beth, Niamh Rockett. Their goalie Brianna is brilliant, can actually take long range frees, but superb on her puck outs as well. So those are probably key players for Waterford. On the Cork side, they have some bench to bring on. I mean, if you looked at the semi-final, they brought on Aisling Thompson, Laura Hayes, and they class. They've beaten Kilkenny and Galway, who probably were their bogey team the last 2 seasons. I think they feel a bit hurt. They probably feel people haven't given them a chance all year, which is funny for Cork, but people kind of overlooked them, seeing as some of their senior players were out. Like Aisling was out with her knee, Laura with her ankle, but they've actually come and they're probably going to peak at the right time. So you have Laura Tracy as well, centre back. That would be interesting with Beth. Is she going to follow Beth back into the half back line, or is she going to sit? But it's funny with Cork, any of the 8 players that are in the middle of the field could probably play between the half back line, half forward line midfield. That goes for Chloe Sigerson, that goes for Saoirse McCarthy, Laura Hayes. It'll almost be like a possession game on Sunday. There won't be any positions if you're looking at it, because both teams play such a running game. They almost do 1-2. They'll pop and run. But I feel that there might be a little bit more space in the Cork full backline. I think sometimes they're there for the taking. And I say that as I sit here now and I'll be watching the game from my seat. But I think they're going to have to figure out a way to stop Beth and especially Niamh Rockett, Abby as well, in the full forward line for Waterford. But same goes for Waterford to Cork. They're going to have a huge space inside that Cork full forward line. You don't know whether they're going to run it or they're going to hit it in, and you have to figure out, are we going to push up on Cork or are we going to sit back? Because you're going to have people like Chloe Sigerson who can score from out the field. Beth will be doing the same for Waterford. It'll be an absolute battlefield in that middle third.
Chloe, is the Beth Carton situation a David Clifford situation? As in, if you nullify her, do you nullify Waterford's chances greatly? Just look at the semi-final. I think she had 20 possessions, 8 points for them from play. So is it a case that if you can keep her quiet, you can really damage Waterford's chances?
You probably could, I suppose. Look, she's such a huge player. She's such a leader. Beth is the type of person now, and if you were ever to talk to Beth, she'd be just laughing and joking, and she's kind of very unassuming, very quiet girl. But when she plays, she does her talking on the pitch, she's immense for Waterford. I think Waterford, while they do have that balance, I think if you see your star player kind of, I suppose as you say, be nullified, whether that be by Laura Tracy, Laura Hayes or Saoirse McCarthy, I assume one of them might pick her up. You're kind of thinking, it's up to someone else now to try, get those points that Beth normally would be. So Cork would probably look to man mark Beth. I assume she does run all over the place. I think it'd be silly not to try man mark Beth, but I do think Cork may have the people to do that. Now, if Aisling Thompson plays as well, Aisling tends to sweep up behind as well, so you could just have someone follow or shadow Beth, and whatever Beth tries to do, you can try read where she's going to hit it. Aisling Thompson tends to do that for the half back line if she does start.
Do you expect her to start?
I mean, if I had Aisling Thompson on my panel, I probably would, yeah. She's probably coming back just the right time. Now, imagine bringing Aisling Thompson on as well as a sub, and imagine having the depth in your panel to do that. I think Cork probably have a stronger bench than Waterford. They have some brilliant young guns, Cork, that that are kind of up and coming this year, that have really shown in the senior championship. So, it's probably a hard one for Matthew Toomey and his management. Do you play one of your best players, or do you want to try bring her on in case you need to settle? Because Aisling Thompson, that's what she does. She tends to settle and calm with the way she plays. She sweeps up ball. She's excellent at picking up people with delivery. So, I mean, I'd start her, but look, Cork are the master at tactics. So we'll see what happens.
You didn't use the word chippy, but there was a sense of that. It's okay. We can use it. You can for future battles with them. Like that underdog status. Galway had beaten them 3 times already this year, twice in the National League and once in the round robin, and then they beat them in the semi-final. But whatever about Waterford being overawed by the occasion, there are ghosts for this Cork team to slay from last year when last puck of the ball they lost the All-Ireland final. So psychologically you can see that swinging either way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like if you talk about Waterford being obviously newcomers to this stage and maybe having those nerves, Cork might feel I feel like the pressure's on Cork because everybody just whether rightly or wrongly are just assuming Cork might go off and they could potentially wipe Waterford. Now I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think if Waterford can keep calm and ride out any storm that Cork will bring, Cork come in waves, and if you can capitalise then on sometimes when they're trying to figure out what you're doing, which they do sometimes, that's where Waterford can capitalise. I think Cork do have maybe a little bit of pressure on them because they probably assume that, now they might think it in camp, but that they are favourites. They will have some, I suppose, from beating Kilkenny and Cork, they'll take that positively going into the final, but they haven't won since 2018, and down in Cork that's probably seen as a drought, so they'll feel like there's a little bit of pressure on them. Look, they're used to playing Croke Park though, and when you're in Croke Park, huge expansive field, if you're a newcomer to that like Waterford, it almost takes your breath away for the first few minutes and you're trying to catch your breath, where those are things that Cork could capitalise on.
Is it encouraging from a Waterford perspective, Chloe, in terms of dealing with the occasion, the semi-final performance in the desperate conditions, like they go 1-7 to 3 points down, I think it was, to Tipperary, which is difficult in those sort of conditions to be 7 points back, but then they come back and they find their rhythm, and even later on there's a lovely moment where Leisha Forrest, she's only 18 and she makes an unbelievable block from Caoimhe McCarthy to kind of almost secure the game and get them over the line by a single point. So do those little moments and that, I guess, comeback from Waterford in the semi-final hint at maybe being able to deal with this occasion?
Absolutely, I hope so. I really do hope so, because I actually think if Waterford not even stay in it, but just keep toe-to-toe with Cork, and I really think they should go toe-to-toe with Cork, you're going to have I think anything could happen then. They're really resilient, they really are, and they're very physical. They with the knocks and the tackles that you get in those rucks, it would almost twinge you from playing against them, and they are so athletic, especially coming out the back. They pop and pass. I think they're incredibly resilient. Like, they've already beaten Cork. They beat probably what a lot of people were considering Tipperary to go on to the final and potentially win it. This is probably Tips, one of their best teams in a while, that had most people available to them. Like, they beat them, and they beat them by a point as well. I think there's a huge resilience in Waterford, and I really hope they go toe-to-toe with Cork, and I just hope that the occasion doesn't overawe them, as you say, because I actually think if it comes down to the close and 10 minutes, that 16th person up in Croke Park stands, I think there'd be a huge Waterford support. I think that could help them greatly, and it's been mentioned by every team they've played, the support of Waterford Camogie that they bring with them. So I think if they can really go toe-to-toe with them, keep their heads, anything could happen on Sunday.
The good thing from Waterford's perspective is, even if they're getting blown out in the first half, they were getting blown out in the first half against Tipperary and they managed to come back. So that, you don't want to be 1-7 to 3 points down after 25 minutes like that they were in the semi-final. But being able to claw your way out of that is a real sign of a team that has resilience and maybe had some nerves in the semi-final. And if you're the management, you're walking them through, okay, this is what's going to happen, this is how the anthem is going to be, it's going to be loud, it's going to be a completely different atmosphere from anything you've ever experienced in your life, but actually we've been through worse than this.
Absolutely, no, and I think you have to draw on those experiences, and certainly as a player, listen, every team now has their sports psychologist, their management, and is literally drawn that confidence and instilling that in the players that you've probably been through worse. You've already done what you're supposed, in terms of you've already beaten Cork, you've already beaten favourites to get here. Now you're on a stage where you have, which will suit Waterford as well, a big pitch, because they are a very athletic team, and I think people will see that if they watch the game on Sunday. It's kind of like for like Cork and Waterford, but they're incredibly resilient. As I said, as a Camogie supporter watching, I do hope they go toe to toe. I think they're a little bit more physical than Cork, so if they can keep with them, they might knock the wind out of their sails a little bit. And I think there's goals for the taking against Cork. Galway scored 2 in the semi-final. Cork didn't score any. So I think, and it's noted that Waterford can put away 1 or 2 themselves. So it's going to be good.
I feel like that's an important point as well, Chloe, on the goals, isn't it? Like those couple of Siobhan McGrath goals in the semi-final. And I think the second one was Amy Lee obviously drops the ball, and kind of a messy goal to concede from a Cork perspective. But that's something that Waterford can really, really target, because, and you can target it. It's one of those things, isn't it, that sometimes people say, how can a team target goals? Of course they want to score a goal. If they get a chance, they'll take it. But Galway even got chances before that first Siobhan McGrath goal. They were getting in for different chances. So as you say, Cork certainly let up goal chances. Yeah,
look, as I said, I think the Cork full back line, I think they do need that cover from the half back line, but if the half back line have to push out with the half forward line for Waterford, which they will do, there'll be an awful lot of space there. They're very pacey inside. So yeah, look, there are definitely goals there for the taking for Waterford. Be great if there was a few goals on a Sunday night spectacle, but like it always comes down a lot of time with frees as well in Camogie, whether that's a good or a bad thing. Hopefully, please God, the referee lets it play on Sunday, and lets it be the physical and athletic contest it's going to hopefully be. But I think that's a big point as well. Beth is superb on her frees, and Cork throughout the championship have been kind of going between free takers. Now they have loads of people that can take frees, but it's about finding that one person who's consistently able to take them. So that could be a big thing it comes down to as well, just the consistency of the free taking on Sunday. But look, hopefully the ref lets it play, and we get a really good Camogie after Sunday.
It's obviously a triple header, as you said. So 5 o'clock in Croker is the senior final. You've got Meath and Derry at 2:45 in the intermediate, and the junior is 12:50 Clare against Tip. Does it bring back memories for you as well, Chloe? I know you were, if you go back to the 2008 All-Ireland Junior final, Clare Offaly, you're 15 years of age. Like, that must have been mental.
Yeah, I was gawking out my mouth at the stand, and I was taken off after 22 minutes because I was looking up to see where my dad was and my mother. But I was so thankful for the experience. It was 2008 since Clare got there. There were women there I played with that are like icons of Clare Camogie, and after winning that, I think it was Sean and I who got that last minute goal. I've never experienced anything like it. The support we got even when we came down to Clare. I can't remember, was I in my junior cert year or I think I was just going into the junior cert. So I was in St. James at the time. It was madness. It was brilliant. But look, I hope, like, we've been training, we've gone about new ways here in Clare. We're trying, the seniors and the juniors train together. I suppose we're trying to change the way things are done here. So I've played with all those girls this year, and honestly, there's some girls there, the stalwarts, that I really do hope they come out with a win on Sunday. We've such experience in the back, and we have girls, we've really pacey forwards. I was trying to follow them around throughout the year, but to no avail. They're excellent players, and I think there's definitely probably 3 or 4 that could have played for us this year, I suppose. And we have that conundrum here at the minute where you're almost robbing Paul to pay Peter, whatever that saying is, in terms of we could have had players for senior this year, but trying to make sure we blooding them the right way. But look, it's came out trumps. They're in a final now. I hope they do it. They deserve it. There's a huge effort gone into getting these girls into the final. So I hope they do it against Tip. That'll be a good match as well. Tip are young themselves. They do have some experience, but I think, look, I can only go for a Clare win there. I wouldn't be a great pundit. But then Derry and Meath, that'll be an excellent game as well. It's been tit for tat with them. Derry, incredibly physical, as all Northern teams are. They are incredibly resilient as well. I think Meath, they've had probably a tougher run to the final. They're very athletic, excellent hurlers, actually. Great stick women. And I'd probably tip maybe Meath for that one.
I was just looking it up there. The Waterford beat Kildare in 2015 in the intermediate final, and Beth Carton was playing. She must have been a similar age when you were winning the junior. When she won the Player of the Month award in April, it was almost exactly the same week that Kildare pulled out of the intermediate championship this year. So you can see that the difference between something that's being well run in the county and something that's not being well run in the county, the divergent paths. Like, there's no better example of two teams who were exactly on the same path. Now, granted, it was 2-9 to 1-5, so it was a fairly clear-cut win for Waterford in the day. To a team who are in an All-Ireland final, hopefully bringing a record crowd, versus a county that can't even field properly. And I think maybe that's at the heart of the integration and the charter, and like that's maybe the most clear-cut example for people who are wondering why was the championship played under protest this year? With stuff like that, presumably. Yeah,
no, exactly. And I think it's very important to bring those issues to light, because sometimes we tend to sugarcoat things. I think with women's sport, like, oh, look, isn't it great? This has happened, we're going to get a record break in attendance, and all those things are excellent. And to be fair to both the ladies Gaelic football, the Camogie and the GA, this year they decided, at some point after protesting, they decided, look, it's going to be for the betterment of the game if we can meet and talk about this charter. And they did eventually, to be fair to them. So, I mean, there's, an excellent thing. And as a player, for them to have listened to just our concerns about that is excellent. But, we can't go without that fact that Kildare and Waterford were pretty much on the same level pegging. And as you said, putting efficient resources, I think that's important, efficiently putting resources into something, you can see it's come up amazingly well for Waterford. And unfortunately for those who play Camogie and Kildare, they're probably going to be watching Sunday going, like, is anybody looking at this? There's a huge issue here. There's been problems. Like, we need to, as you say, integration, or there needs to be, and I think there is a proper review. I think Liam Sheedy's actually heading it up as well, about what actually has happened and what are we going to do about it. But I think that's an important point to note for people who are maybe just about to get into Camogie or just watched on Sunday. You can't sugarcoat things all the time, and sometimes things have to be dealt with. And passing off responsibility all the time, and it's your fault, it's this person's, like, everybody has to come together. There's normally, whoever plays Camogie or into Camogie, there's solutions. Everyone wants a solution. Nobody's just giving out for the sake of giving out. That's what I'd always say. So if someone has an issue, you need to try to deal with it. I hope that review can have a look at Waterford and go, well, where have we gone wrong from here? And I think there's lots of other teams in that position as well. Lots of sugarcoating going on. So, look, hopefully, we know integration is years away. I understand it, a huge process, but I think there's loads of little steps you can do. We have the one club model. Yeah. There's loads of different things you can do. So look, hopefully, people. Yeah. But
there is. It could be years away, or it could be really quick if everybody just decided they were going to make it really quick. Like, that's the other side of this. That not to sugarcoat it, I think that's exactly what should happen anyway.
No, I was just being politically correct. If I could, like, I would love if it could happen as soon as possible. I mean, there's people saying this has to happen, that has to happen. Fine. I actually think the biggest problem is a mindset change between those traditionally maybe within, who think Camogie should be itself and GA should be itself and ladies Gaelic football, we should all just worry about ourselves. There's a mindset there, like, it's a cultural mindset about, well, why are they getting that, and how are they making this, or what are they. Listen, I think
that's my field bull. That's what that is. That's my field bull. That's what it is. Like, you can't have hot showers. I'm sorry, no. So then the under 16 boys won't have hot showers. You're like, come on. Yeah, no, there's a mindset change that needs to happen across all of sport. I think definitely in terms of GA, we're all the one family, where everybody's working together to create something that is completely unique in the world. Isn't that enough? How do we all do that together? And that's it. There's no argument after that in my head anyway. Chloe, great stuff. We'll definitely come back to this. Thanks a million.
Thanks very much, lads.
Enjoy the games. Cheers. It's Chloe Morey there giving us a preview of the All-Ireland Camogie finals this weekend, the 3 games in Croker on Sunday. If you want to get in touch, you can text the show 0879 180 180, or you can leave a comment on YouTube. We're talking Manchester United and Andy Mitten next.
OTB AM. OTB GAA.
If you remember, and I questioned it, we all questioned the style of football that they were playing maybe in the league at the start of the year and last year, where the likes of John Small or these fellas were coming up from the back and taking shots, and people were saying, that's not the way they did it under Jim Gavin. They wouldn't do that. But Desi was trying to instill this probably new style.
Subscribe to the OTB GAA podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts.
OTB AM.
The Sports Breakfast Show from Off the Ball.
So Braeburn Coffee is the official coffee partner of Off the Ball. New Braeburn locations are popping up all over the country every month. So visit applegreenstores.com/Braeburn to find your nearest Braeburn coffee experience. Andy Mitten, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm jet lagged and I'm all right. I'm looking forward to coming to Dublin at the weekend. I've missed a deadline for accreditation. I'm seeing how cheap your capital city is for accommodation as well. Absolute fucking everywhere. And no, I'm all right, but I woke up at 2:00 in the morning. 9-hour time difference between Las Vegas and Europe, and I was in Vegas for the final game of Manchester United's pre-season tour. So I'll get some sleep, come to Dublin, doing a night on Saturday at the Sugar Club. Then we've got the game against the Basques of Athletic Club, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. The atmosphere should be amazing. It'll be essentially a home game for Manchester United. Yeah, what kind of team do you think ends up playing? How close to the full team does he need to start getting game time into? We're essentially 2 weeks away from the first league game. What's your instinct about who'll play and who won't play?
I'm glad you've asked that, because I've just looked at my Instagram messages and it seems that 2.8 million Irish people have asked the same question. People have bought tickets, they want to know what the team's going to be, and that's fair enough. I think it will be a balance. Respect for the fact that people have paid a lot of money for tickets, and tickets have been expensive on these pre-season tours, far more expensive than games at Old Trafford. And also a balancing act because there'll be a game at Old Trafford on Saturday. That's purposely kicking off early on Saturday. So Ten Hag, I think, will be at both. But I think you see some big names in Dublin as well. I don't think you'll see the absolute strongest Manchester United team in either. Equally, you won't be seeing the type of team United put out against Wrexham in San Diego a few days ago. So there will be some names there. And I think Manchester United are very aware of the huge support in the Republic of Ireland. I think it'll be stronger than the team which went out against Leeds in Oslo, because the pre-season's much more advanced. All the players are back now, and he's also got a big squad. He actually needs to get rid of players, some of them who are big names, so they need minutes. They're going to get them at the wonderful Aviva Stadium.
The price of these pre-season tickets, Andy, is farcical, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people paid big money over in America, I guess, to see that Wrexham United game, and even the most fervent United supporter, I think, if they could have named 3 of the starting 11, they'd have been doing quite well. Like, it's a bit of a joke.
Yeah, and I've been writing about it and covering it, and it concerns me. There's a few factors here. Dynamic pricing is used. I don't like it. It's used in the airline industry. It's very common in the United States. The economy in California or New York is far stronger than Europe. The dollar being strong means that people are just used to paying a lot more for tickets. So I get why they're expensive, and Manchester United are not cheap. Even though the club are not charging or setting the ticket prices, it's the promoter, but the promoter needs to charge high prices because Manchester United are not cheap to get over. But some of them prices for the Wrexham game probably average $160 for Manchester United's under-21s team. It is ridiculous because so much progress has been made on ticket prices for games in England. That £30 cap for Premier League games mark real progress from fans. Ticket prices for Old Trafford are really reasonable. I've had people in the last year get tickets for face value and say, is this some sort of joke? Is it really only 34 quid? Or like, is a pint really only £3? I'm like, yeah, it is. That's the truth. But the pre-season games, New York, sold out. $200 average ticket prices against Arsenal. Vegas at the weekend didn't sell out. Crowd of 50,000, 69,000 seat stadium. What a stadium, by the way. And tickets prices for that were really expensive. But they came down because they're using this dynamic pricing. So I was hearing stories of people in Los Angeles saying we saw tickets had dropped to $50, so we decided to make the drive over. So this is how the tickets are priced there, but I don't like it. To be fair to Manchester United, they did try and sort out fans who travelled over for like $60 and also had a good connection with the season ticket holders and support clubs as well to try and help them. But yeah, overall, ridiculous.
Tell me how you feel the off-season has been for Manchester United so far. It's obviously incomplete. The transfer deadline doesn't close until the end of the month, so there's still plenty of time for more likely more exits than incomings, but still some key incomings to be completed as well.
I'm all right about it. And why am I like that? Well, I had a good sit down with Erik ten Hag at the weekend, speaking to different players on and off the record, coaching staff. If you're going to judge results pre-season, that's usually misleading. So Manchester United have lost the last 3 games, but did well against Arsenal in New York. I'm optimistic about the signings that have come in, the fact that they've come in quite early. New goalkeeper, Mason Mount in midfield, Rasmus Højlund as well up front. I think every incoming signing, fans have an idealised version that is going to be successful. In reality, it's about a 50% hit rate, although I think Ten Hag's a good judge of a player, and his signings have been good. So I think United are moving in the right direction under Erik ten Hag. I think it would be very, very difficult to compete with Manchester City in the way that they're funded for anybody. But I would expect and hope that Manchester United continue to improve, get more points this season, do okay in the Champions League, and sort out that away form against the top teams, which was shocking last year, really bad. And I asked players about it, I asked the manager about it, and they just said we need more consistency. But the patterns of play during matches, the evidence I saw of the players settling in together, going on nights out together, taking the kit man for a night out in San Diego, I like that sort of stuff. So I've been on these pre-seasons. I remember 2018 when Jose Mourinho was doing his very best to piss off every Manchester United fan, and they've been really bad, and you go into the season thinking this is not going to be good. But I'm pretty optimistic.
The kit man will have Adidas kits to deal with for a further 10 years, and a massive £900 million partnership. I think it's the biggest kit deal in Premier League history that was confirmed this week. Like that's although it might bypass United fans based on the transfer and the more juicy transfer news, it's a pretty huge deal for United.
Yeah, the numbers are big. I got an inkling that was going to happen. The bottom line is the kits sell well. They continue to sell really well. I remember in the 90s when a new kit came out every 2 years, I'd have the main British media outlets ringing me saying, this is disgraceful, you must be absolutely outraged about this. And it was primetime news every 2 years. Now there's kits every year, 3 kits per year. And I said then, no one's forcing anyone to buy them. My mates at the match, I don't think any of them have bought a kit for years. But they're really popular, especially with younger fans. And it is a big source of income for Manchester United. And I like Adidas being with Manchester United. I like the retro stuff that they've done. I like the kits in the 1980s. But that is guaranteed income for a long time. And that will help. Is that a bad thing? Does that mean that the Glazers are going to go, actually, we're sat on a complete goldmine here, we're going to stay? Not heard anything about the sales process. That is the cloud that is hanging over Manchester United at the moment. Fans want clarity. People at the club want clarity. They want assurances. None have been forthcoming whatsoever. So that would be the main negative with Manchester United, the ownership. But if they can do deals like that with Adidas, then other clubs inflate their commercial deals. I think with Manchester United, it's a genuine one based on huge demand. The team are incredibly popular.
In terms of the style of play this season, the change of goalkeeper is about as fundamental a thing that you can do when it comes to the implication of what you're trying to do and the communication, the philosophy and all that kind of stuff. We can talk about the berating of Harry Maguire in a moment, but what do you think will happen when Onana beds in, and so we're 2 months in? What will the difference in style of play be?
Well, Ten Hag said it's going to be pretty similar to last season, but you're quite right. Onana is a totally different goalkeeper. I was watching him in training, threading passes through defenders with usually pinpoint accuracy. I'm being thrilled by that. And I spoke to a lot of people about Onana, people in Italy, people in Holland, proper goalkeeping coaches. And the reports were very, very good. Clearly, Ten Hag likes him a lot, but he takes major risks. He would be in a similar style to Ederson, to Alisson. Managers at the very best clubs want goalkeepers to almost be an outfield player, like Barca did with Victor Valdez a decade ago or even more. So I think fans have welcomed the Onana signing, but almost everyone I speak to says there will be 2 errors. There will be some errors. So I'd like to see the reaction when that happens. Because again, fans have this idealised version of, okay, De Gea made 6 mistakes last year, so we're not going to make 6 this year, as though everything's going to be perfect with Onana. But he berates his players. He's very vocal. He's very confident. He's not short of an opinion. So you're getting some very strong characters in the dressing room now, in a pretty good way. Not energy sappers. They were let go a year ago. People who I think are winners when things are going well. You have to ask them what they're going to be like when things are not going so well. But Manchester United have been going well. And as I said, decent signings. I like the idea of the goalkeeper. Bring it on. Let's see what they're going to do.
There was an interesting moment from Onana in I think it was the Dortmund friendly a few days ago, Andy, where he berates Harry Maguire for what he sees as a bit of an error. Of course, £20 million bid from West Ham rejected for Harry Maguire. I don't know if they'll come back in. There's rumours that Everton might be interested as well. Will he be a United player in another couple of months?
Don't know. But what I do know is Harry Maguire wants to stay at Manchester United. He absolutely wants to stay at Manchester United, and he wants to fight for his place. And Ten Hag was quite conciliatory about him. But then you see Scott McTominay chosen ahead of him as captain in Las Vegas for that game. It was an awful goal to concede, but they all were, actually, including Dortmund's goals. Bad errors. Get them out the way pre-season, giving the ball away. But I've got no issue if the goalkeeper wants to have a proper go at his defenders, and I'm sure when it's him and Lisandro Martinez going at each other, then that's going to be equally entertaining as well. With Harry, I think Harry's a good player. He's not the first choice central defender for Manchester United. Very interesting on Saturday night in Las Vegas to bump into some Dallas United fans who were paying homage to Harry Maguire. They're like, we need to say this to you. We absolutely love Harry. Well, all of you as a collective, absolutely. Because he has had stick. He's had a lot of stick. He's had too much stick. And he's become a scapegoat. Fans always need a scapegoat. And it is absolutely Harry Maguire. At times last year it was David De Gea, but Harry Maguire is the one. But I don't think he's said the wrong thing. I think he's been very professional. I've spoken to him several times. I think from Maguire's perspective, he'd be wondering why have Manchester United not come out and emphatically said he is not for sale. Well, that's because you and I know that if a big offer comes in, there will be pressure to move Harry Maguire on.
Yeah.
West Ham, flushed with all that money from Declan Rice, have decided to spend about 2% of it on new players. So people know that West Ham have got money. I think Harry Maguire would be a very good defender for a very good Premier League team, but you're not going to be seeing Manchester City coming in for him like they did a couple of years ago. He needs a couple of good things to happen. He needs a run of matches. Probably something bad has got to happen for him to come good. You know, an injury to a player, and just to get out of this pit that he's been in for a long time, where he's not going to be judged playing at home against Southampton or Fulham. He needs a really good game against Liverpool away, and he's just not been getting that opportunity. Andy,
what's the shape of the team? Where's Mount playing in respect of Casemiro? Is Mount a like-for-like replacement for Eriksen? How do you expect the midfield stroke forwards to line up now that we have a number 9 as well?
Ten Hag wanted Mount because he's so versatile, but he also says his best role is a central one. But he also says Jadon Sancho's best role is a central one. And the central role is occupied by Bruno Fernandes, who's now the captain. So you can't have 9 players in that one position just in front of the midfield. I think with Mount, he's got more legs than Eriksen. I think Eriksen tired towards the end of last season in games and in general. He had a good season, Eriksen, but after his injury, it was notable. Mount, someone said to me they could see him playing deeper, almost giving legs alongside Casemiro in place of Fred, who is up for sale. Or Scott McTominay, who Manchester United would listen to offers from. So anywhere centrally, Casemiro's the man. He's the number 1. Everything else around him is subject to form. And I know that Ten Hag really pushed for Mason Mount. He spoke to him and said, I want you to be a big part of my team. and he felt that Mason Mount really wanted to join Manchester United. So Ten Hag is building his team. He's getting pretty close to his team as well. I tried to push him on how close is this team to the one you want, but you get answers. He's quite diplomatic. You get answers like, every football team is constantly evolving. We're always looking to strengthen. Yeah, I know that, Eric, but
What's it, you're saying
7 or 8 new signings now.
Yeah, so a gun to your head, you're at the gates of hell, and you have to win a match with this current squad to stay alive. Who's your team? And it's Casemiro, Mount, the captain, as you've said. They're the trio there. It's Rashford, Højlund, and Anthony. Is that it?
Good question. Sancho had a pretty good pre-season. He had a 7-8 out of 10 pre-season. Anthony Martial, who's very talented, but we'll probably rule him out after 6 or 7 minutes with another injury. Højlund, still very young. He's only 20. I'd expect him to be... he might come in and just explode and be fantastic, but it's a big ask for someone so young. Ten Hag raves about him. He really does, and you'll see some quotes when he actually signs saying why he thinks that he's a good player. Anthony, I think, needs a good second season. Cost a lot of money last year. Probably the most disappointing of Ten Hag signings. Cuts inside, very skillful. Works well defensively as well, but cannot shoot on goal. You need to get them. Watching him on some of the pre-seasons, it was just. His shooting really has got to improve. So it's all, these places are all up to be won, and Ten Hag, as we've seen many times, will make the difficult decisions. So putting the gun to my head, first game of the season, Mount, Casemiro, Fernandes, Højlund, Rashford, Sancho, stroke Anthony.
One man who may be on the bench a little bit this season and potentially feature as well, Andy, is Johnny Evans. I mean, 8 years after leaving the club, obviously came through the academy at Old Trafford, all of a sudden hops in for a few games in pre-season, clearly impresses Erik ten Hag, appears to be on the verge of a 1-year contract.
Top lad, Johnny. I put a false rumour out last week that he was signing an 8-year contract, and he got wind of it. I'm glad he took it in the right spirit. I really like him as a person. I don't think he should have ever been sold in 2015. Van Gaal did his best to offload as many talented players who'd come through the club and replace them with inferior players. So it makes sense for me. Johnny Evans is not going to be the first choice centre half. But he can be absolutely competent in matches and maybe move into a role coaching and guiding the younger players as well, because United have lost. David De Gea had been there for 12 years. If Scott McTominay moves on, you can't lose all the players who know what Manchester United is supposed to be about. So Johnny's made a good impression. I wasn't thinking that after 28 minutes in San Diego, if I'm honest, against Wrexham, when the whole team were having a stinker and being out-muscled, and we're really struggling to deal with Wrexham's set pieces. But I'm pleased. Johnny's not going to be so expensive, and he's really highly regarded. And I'm not expecting him to get the winner at Liverpool away. Mm-hmm. But you never know.
Yeah, exactly. Hollywood's, the other elephant in the room at Manchester United at the moment is the ongoing situation around Mason Greenwood. What do you think will happen here?
I think something will happen soon. I'd be prepared for something to happen soon. If you would have asked me 2 months ago, I would have probably said moving him away, putting him out on loan, because he does have a contract. So you've got to look at it from that perspective. My understanding is that people on the football side are more amenable to him coming back. There's been some concerns within the club, so you're not getting a unified opinion of what should happen. And it's the same among fans as well. You're getting fans saying it would be disgraceful if he ever comes back. We heard the tape, etc. And others saying, well, actually, he's not been found guilty of anything. So it's a very contentious issue. I would be leaning more towards Manchester United somehow entertaining him and bringing him back. I don't have any hard evidence of that, but I think it is moving towards that. There was a story which was front page news on Saturday saying Adidas had no issue with this, and Adidas are obviously clearly a big sponsor, but Adidas denied that. But I think it is moving in that direction.
Yeah,
and
the longer it goes on, the more likely that is to happen, because if they were going to move them, they would have moved them by now.
Yeah. So how do I feel about that? Totally conflicted. He's a top footballer, but I heard that tape as well, so it's a difficult one. But a decision does need to be made. Erik ten Hag has given his view. He answered questions on it in New York, and then when we asked him again about it at the weekend, he said, "Look, I've said all I want to say here." So I think when an announcement is made, there will be some turbulence, and that will be the main story for a day or two in the Manchester United soap opera.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to unhear the tape, really, like as a fan of football. And I understand that people say, should he be punished for something? And it's like, well, he hasn't got to jail, so he's free to live his life. It's just that maybe the Manchester United fans don't really want to be associated with that. Then I overheard a conversation at the supermarket the other day, 2 Man United fans going, sure, look, and I was like, okay, football fans are football fans of all clubs. This is not specific in any way to Manchester United. Every other club in the Premier League has had issues, but there does seem to be a tolerance for domestic violence in sport, and I mean, it's just not a good look. It really...
No, it's not, and it's historical as well. If you're going to judge some of Manchester United's greatest ever players, there's major question marks over what they were like as people off the field. And as you say, it's not just Manchester United, it's all football clubs, and fans change the tune, or they let the ability of the individual blur their opinion of it. But yeah, we all heard the tape, and I'm a father of 2 daughters. I was horrified when I heard that tape. Then again, what do you do with the individual? Does he come into society, be a tax-paying, successful citizen, or does he get ostracised, which in his mind he's not been charged of anything? It's very, very complicated, and I think it needs to be resolved sooner rather than later. I've noticed as well a sort of soft focus on him. He's become a father with his partner. But yeah, I don't know what the decision is going to be.
All right, Andy, football's back. Great to have you back with us. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Everybody always gets offended when I say football's back, because obviously the League of Ireland didn't go anywhere. I deliberately, I know what I'm doing. It was a joke.
Of course.
Yeah. The Premier League is back. The what's it called these days is on Sunday. It's Arsenal versus Manchester City.
Community Shield, yes.
Nobody cares about it, but then all of a sudden something happens. I don't know. They do care about it. That was the first time this season we understood blah blah blah. So beware.
It's a trophy, isn't it? It's a trophy.
It's not. It's not.
It's a shield.
8:47. Colin Mullaney, good morning to you.
Good morning, lads. How's it going?
How are you? Who's the footballer of the year?
Oh, good question. David Clifford. I think David Clifford.
But he got smoked in the All-Ireland final. Did you not? You didn't get the memo?
I think David Clifford is the best footballer in the country. And
he is the best footballer in the country. And
he has been the best footballer of the year, of the championship year.
I think there's an argument for Cluxton.
There is an argument for Cluxton.
Definitely.
And I'm not sure if Dublin win the All-Ireland without Cluxton.
Cluxton's already won it. Does that mean that he can't do it again? Clifford's already won it, hasn't he? He was footballer of the year last year.
He's footballer of the year. But I think it's a player's vote, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I would say that Clifford is quite popular amongst all the players as well. That might sway it in his favour.
Ironically, I think the smoked thing is going to have a negative impact on the candidacy of the Dublin footballers.
And it's not necessarily, it doesn't always follow that you have to have won the All-Ireland to win Footballer of the Year, like the Lee Keegan, Andy Moran, or two of the more recent.
Yeah, fair point. Bernard Brogan
haven't done it. So
only 2 people have won it twice. Can you name them?
Well, Jack O'Shea did it 2 years in a row.
Fenton.
Did he?
I'm so from 95 on. I'm saying when football starts.
Began.
Sorry, when Wikipedia starts. 95.
Gooch?
No.
Gooch never won it, did he?
Only 2 players have won it twice.
Only 2 players have won it twice since 95, according to Wikipedia.
Fenton.
Correct. 2020 and 2018.
Has Clifford won it twice?
No, the other's a Meath player.
Trevor Giles
in 96 and 99.
Right.
There you go. I'm surprised, like, maybe there is something in that. Like, do they only give it out once? Like, Cluxton wins it in 2019 only, McCaffrey in 2015 only.
It became a players' vote in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Like, I think the All-Star committee used to pick it.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Journalists have a say now.
Journalists pick the All-Star team, don't they?
I think they might also do the shortlist.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And it's only some journalists. It's a privileged few.
Have you ever had the privilege?
I have not. Dave McIntyre was an All-Star selector for a while.
Okay. Pressure even telling people that you're doing it.
I don't know.
The footballer of the year is David Clifford. He should win it 2 years in a row. That's a fact. He might not have won the All-Ireland.
Is he definitely the footballer of the year? Like, definitely.
I don't think he's definitely. I don't think.
No, sorry.
It's clear cut,
It's
but I
not
think he will win it.
I'd be leaning, if it is a Dublin player, I am leaning towards Stephen Cluxton, to be fair. McCarthy was immense, and what he's done has been incredible. But
Fenton was pretty good.
Colin Pascal.
Yeah, you can't
Pascal had a bad semi-final, and so but
I would say up to that point was he the standout Dublin player of the season.
Yeah,
had a reasonably good second half in the final.
Excellent second half, like a game-changing second half. Yeah. Really, from the Dubs' perspective, catches, breaks, makes the turnover, puts the pressure on for the goal, and kicks a really important point at a crucial moment. Did something else as well.
Yeah,
I feel like Paul Flynn ruined his own argument in his tweet, because he was saying the fact that, look, McCarthy didn't have his best game in the final, but yes, Clifford and McCarthy both didn't have a great game in the final. Like, they're to their massively high standards, is what I mean. So that doesn't point towards McCarthy as the footballer of the year either. Neither of them had a good game in the final. So I think you judge it on the season, and Clifford was immense. The day after, it was day after his mother dies, he has an unbelievable game in the Munster final. Other games as well where he just shoots the lights out. The final itself, he apparently plays terribly and still scores 4 points.
I think the Derry performance was just incredible. Both at both ends of the field. If you look back at the 5 or 6 minutes at the end, he's down at the other end of the field, winning turnovers and cleaning up loose ball.
And a couple of moments against Tyrone.
I'm coming back round to it. But I do think the Cluxton case is like, in the greatest moment of the greatest pressure, when like everything is riding on it. You're like ping, 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 ping.
And then the two scores that he got in the first half as well. Incredible.
Well, James McCarthy's never won it, so they're probably going to give it to him for that reason.
And I still make the case, I love Andy Moore, and I love him as a man, as a pundit, as a manager, but James McCarthy was the footballer of the year that year.
Yeah, 2017.
Anyway, let's move on. What's going on, Carl?
The Women's World Cup action this morning. Argentina and Sweden just at half-time. It's goalless there. Sweden on course to top Group G as things stand. And then South Africa and Italy is a goal apiece, approaching half-time there. 7 minutes of added time played at the end of the first half there. There was an absolute howler of an own goal there from Italy to bring South Africa back on level terms. The other matches later today come in Group F. France lead the standings there ahead of their meeting with Panama. Panama already out of the tournament. Jamaica take on Brazil. That's going to be a big one in terms of the qualification picture there, and both of those games kick off at 11 o'clock this morning. Big news in the League of Ireland last night, because Daryl Horgan is back at Dundalk. He rejoins the club, having left in 2016 to join Preston North End. He spent some time on loan at Stevenage last season. His contract with Wycombe Wanderers expired earlier this year. It's expected he'll be available for Dundalk's meeting with Shelbourne in the league on Sunday afternoon. Roisin Ní was just over half a second off securing her second medal at the Para Swimming Championships in Manchester last night. She finished 4th in the 100 metre breaststroke final. 2 more swimmers in action today. Nicole Turner in the final of the women's 200 metre individual medley, and Barry McClemens is in the heats for the men's 100 metre butterfly S8 later this morning. Tony McEntee has been handed another year in charge of the Sligo senior footballers. He's going to go into a 4th season in charge. Carlow have confirmed the reappointment of Niall Carew as their manager for next season, and the Galway Plate is the feature on day 3 of the Galway Festival. Action at Ballybrit underway again today from 5:10.
My brother has spoken in the YouTube comments. Himself and his housemate Jamie just moved into their new apartment in South Coogee in Australia. He says, tuning in from Sydney, Cluxton for me. Someone has replied, Chris McCann, Cluxton my hole. So that is the YouTube comments. Summed up, I think, every single morning.
There you go.
Thanks for the comments.
Are you hoping to get the call from young McEntee as a...
You're the second person to ask me that. Shane Coleman said it on News Talk Breakfast as well.
All right.
No. Full stop, no. Glad he's reappointed though.
In the playing panel or as an admin? Cathal, of course, here, chairman of the Enniscrone GA Club.
You must be one of the youngest club chairman in the country.
No, definitely not. But
yeah, definitely, yes.
Definitely probably are.
That's factually correct. Whatever about my will you play for Sligo? Like,
yeah, but I think it's good news that Tony McEntee's been reappointed. He's done a really good job.
So GAA president must be on your radar now if you've ascended to the throne of.
Yeah. Charlotte Burns and then me.
I mean, you know.
But you made a good point the other day. I was chatting in the office about this. Because you see a lot of chairmen, going into the job in their 50s, 60s. You want to give back to your club. Get it done when you're young and you've no
and then you can relax.
commitments. Yeah, and you can relax. Well, you've done it then. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a good idea. Fair play.
Thanks.
Is it enjoyable?
It is when you're winning. Yeah. It's not very good when teams are not doing very well. It's a team effort more than anything. And I live in Dublin, obviously, so I'm up and down the road a lot. But there's a lot of people at home doing a lot of work that I probably should be doing. So they're carrying the can a little bit.
I was down in Guelthart last week, and Darragh Canage is the chairman down there, and selector on the senior team as well. Like, he's just always about the pitch, but you probably have to be dealing with people and liaising and doing so many things that you probably didn't even realise.
Yeah. There's a lot, like the admin stuff I wouldn't enjoy, but I enjoy the football side of things, obviously, but not the admin stuff. Definitely not. And I think like volunteers in the JA, full stop, like, you talk about people involved at county board level and stuff, like it's gone to the stage for those people that's probably a job essentially, particularly for county board chairpersons who have to keep an eye on everything. And we just spoke there about appointing inter-county managers and stuff. Like, it's such a huge decision because there's so many resources being pumped in and fundraisers and stuff necessary to finance county teams now that it requires a lot of work for county board chairpersons and people involved at county board level.
Chairman and clubs have to sack and hire managers, don't they, for the senior team? That's a tough job.
Yeah. Feel the power. Honestly though, it is an amazing thing to be doing at this stage of your career while you're still playing. It doesn't happen that much. It does happen a bit around the country, except 2,000 clubs, of course. It's bound to happen. But will you come back and talk to us sometime about what it actually is like? Because I think a lot of people are keen to help out, but somewhat overawed by the prospect.
Yeah. I would say that probably loyalty is a big thing when it comes to club football and club hurling, that you kind of have a sense of loyalty to your club, that if an opportunity arises to help out, you'll try and do it, whatever that might be, whatever stage you're at. And I suppose that's the case for a lot of people. But yeah, no, it's, as I say, it's very much a team effort. It's not
Is there training?
And show. I think there are, Crow Park will do stuff. They will do stuff, and I think there are guides and stuff. In fact, for other officers as well, as far as I'm aware. Like, for example, the PR, obviously you guys would deal with PR people a lot. There are a lot of things to do with PR now in terms of how to promote your club properly on social media and guidelines around that, which is very helpful, that I would have gone through before. So I think Crow Park are doing a lot of good work there to train up officers at club level and county level, to be fair.
All right, Carl, good stuff.
Thanks, lads.
Thanks, million. Right, if you want to get in touch, 087 9180 180 is the WhatsApp number, or you can always leave a comment on YouTube. Now, we're talking to Julianne Russell about the stellar career of her former Galway teammate Niamh Fahey. There's a little bit of buzz that maybe Niamh's international career might be over, but it might not be. So first, here's our own Kathleen McNamee speaking to the Liverpool and Republic of Ireland star immediately after their final World Cup game against Nigeria on Monday.
I'm not sure if you noticed it when you were coming off, but you got a standing ovation from the crowd, which I think is actually the only standing ovation I've seen from an Irish crowd throughout this tournament. Okay. How does that make you feel?
To be honest, I didn't even look. I wish I took that in. So no, I didn't look. I checked 5, and I looked down my jersey, saw 5, so I was like, right, I better get off quick. Maybe we get some fresh legs. And yeah, Diane, obviously it's her first step onto the pitch as well, so I want to get off as quick as possible, get her on, and yeah, we were trying to push for a win as well, although we didn't create clear-cut chances, so I didn't see it, but that's lovely.
And just for you personally, obviously at this after tournament there's going to be questions about the senior players. Do you want to carry on? What do you sort of think of that personally? Is it sort of too soon to really think about that?
Yeah, I think too soon. I just wanted to focus on the tournament and really just put my energy and time into every game here and not be thinking about the future too much. So yeah, it'll be something I'll go home and then sit down and reflect and get a bit of time to do that. But yeah, I'm just really proud at the minute to have played in a World Cup and to battle with these girls, so it's been brilliant.
So that was Niamh Fahey speaking with Kathleen in the immediate aftermath of the game. There are some comments in the longer bits in the paper where it doesn't seem like she has made her mind up yet, but also we could probably do with her for the next campaign. Julianne Russell is with us now to talk to us a little bit about the career that Niamh Fahey has put down. Like, this is one of the all-time Irish great sports careers, and its longevity is something to be remarked on, Julianne. But before we retire her, she's got plenty left to give, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like, Niamh's a phenomenal athlete. She looks after herself so well. She's signed another 1-year extension onto her contract with Liverpool. So the fact that that's happened, I think that she will be, I don't think she will retire from international football just quite yet. I think she still has more to give. And even you see in the men's game, you see Ronaldo, all these players playing way into their late 30s. So I think it's just the same in the women's game. I think Niamh has a bit more to give.
The fact that she's still playing really well at club level is the thing that must give her confidence, because certainly at international level sometimes a country can be reliant on players because of their experience, and it doesn't always tally with the club form, but her club form seems to be excellent still.
Yeah, like, she's week in, week out, she's starting. Obviously the last couple of months she was injured, so obviously she wasn't playing much football, but like, she's the captain of Liverpool. Like, what an honour. And yeah, she's just solid every game. Like, it's rare that you see her having a poor game, to be honest.
Christine Sinclair is a perfect example as well, Julianne, isn't she? Of someone who, you know, at the age of 40 can go on, and Niamh will be 40 when the next World Cup comes around. I'm not saying she's still going to be around at that point, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, prime example. And you saw the impact that Christine Sinclair had when she came on at halftime versus Ireland. Like, it's still in them. And yeah, I'm confident Niamh can still contribute to Ireland in the future.
One of the things that really is important for this group is that they keep the experience of the World Cup, for good and bad, but actually, like, what it's like to be in a tournament, the pressures that brings, and carry as much of that through as possible. While at the same time we accept that we need to freshen up the team and get some youth, get some pace into the side as well. So it's a really tricky balancing act for whoever the manager is next.
It is, and I think, like you said, I think it's vital that you do keep that experience, and not even just that, like, you need good characters in the dressing room. And like, Niamh is an amazing footballer, but she's actually like a really good human, and like, she's great crack. Like, and I really think you need that in a team. So whoever the manager is, if it is going to continue to be Vera or if it's going to be someone else, I do think it will be a really tough decision to kind of put that blend of the experience and the kind of fresh new young people coming into the squad as well.
She's just one of these players that over the years, Julianne, has just gone from strength to strength. Like, I'm sure the experience in that dressing room is one thing, but like, the fact that the GA background she has as well, and she's clearly just a talented sportswoman, generally speaking. So a role model, I'd imagine, in that dressing room.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, she has that never doubt attitude. Like, she'll never give up. It's kind of just inbred in her, and I suppose having the versatility of the different sports background. She played Gaelic football and she played a bit of basketball as well when she was younger. So like, she's just that all-round athlete. And then yeah, the experience of all what she's achieved so far. She's achieved so much in her club career with Arsenal. Then obviously she had the stint at Chelsea, and she just won the championship with Liverpool. So she has so much experience. And then I suppose she even has that All-Ireland with Galway as well. So it's incredible.
Do you expect her to continue
with the Ireland team?
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, I think so. I think after she got that taste of the World Cup, like, I feel like some people are like, you'd leave on a high, but then I think she has that taste, and I still think she has it in her, and she probably believes that herself. Now, I could be totally wrong, but I think that she could give another year or two for sure.
Incredibly well travelled, played in France, played for all the big clubs in England, obviously knows the Irish scene really well. Is this somebody who the FAI should be trying to encourage to get involved in coaching? I know she's got a career as a scientist as well, so obviously very, very talented. and may not be interested in being full-time in football when she retires. May have felt like that's me done, but is there a coaching / managerial gene there?
Like, Niamh is super intelligent, and obviously she's an amazing education as well. Like, she's constantly doing like further in her career on the non-football on side. even if it's not managerial, I think she'll be in maybe like the sports science side of a team or something like that. And I feel like you can give so much, like in the backroom staff, it's all those people who give so much to the team that the public don't see. So if it isn't a coach and managerial aspect, I feel like she'll still stay in the kind of sports arena, particularly in the science side. But you never know. I think she'd be an amazing manager as well. Like she knows the game inside out, and she's just so well educated.
And she's also like mentally strong as well, because you look at I think she was injury free for maybe a decade, and then early this year she gets the injury in February, a calf injury, and it was misdiagnosed as well, I think. So she expected to be out for much shorter than she ultimately was. So even being able to bounce back from that so close to a World Cup shows some serious mental strength.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, she's so resilient. I know if that was me, I'd be freaking a couple of months out from the World Cup. But yeah, like she just held strong, so good at like doing her rehab, just looking after herself. And like, I'm just so happy that she got back in time for the World Cup, and that's a credit to her and like her support system around her, and just such a good role model, as you said, to other people kind of who are in that position, who get these kind of injuries before big tournaments or kind of big games coming up. So yeah, credit to her.
Julianne, we have to ask you about the main story over the last 24 hours. It's the non-substitution, the asked for substitution, the naming of the person who either was asked or wasn't asked. This is about as melodramatic a sports story that we've had in Irish sport since Johnny Sexton looked up at the big screen and was like, oh, I mean, and that turned out to be a hill of beans. Is this something or is this nothing?
I think it was blown out of proportion, to be totally honest. Like, as the public are seeing with Vera, she's blunt, she's direct, she doesn't hold back. I think she shouldn't have just named any names, or she just should have kept it private and probably not answered the question directly to the media. Like, for her to come out and do that, I'd say the journalists and media in that room, like, their eyes were lighting up. But yeah, I don't think it's anything, to be honest. I think it's blown out of proportion.
Is it right that a player vocally, I guess, asks for a substitution during the game? I guess a captain is different, isn't it?
I think a captain is different. Like, they'll be talking the whole time within a game and like outside a game. I'm sure managers will always kind of be speaking to their captain, advice, what do they think, and kind of getting the general vibe from the group of girls. So that's normal that they will get and ask opinions. I think fresh legs were needed. I just think it shouldn't have been kind of vocalised afterwards and specific players pointed out, and then that it was even kind of just the way she spoke about it, saying like Katie McCabe is not the coach, but like as I mentioned, she's direct and that's her style. But overall, I don't, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's just been blown out of proportion.
The mood music is all that the FAI were waiting to see exactly what was going on. I presume they're reading everything in all the papers and seeing what the general consensus is about what should happen with Vera. It's hard to make a footballing case that Vera shouldn't be allowed to continue or given another period of time, but the relationship thing is really important with your players. We know from Irish football history that if there's a divide between the best players and the management team, it only goes one way, and that's disaster. So what's your instinct about what's going to happen next?
My gut instinct is that she won't stay on. I agree from a footballing aspect, it is difficult to see why she wouldn't, because she brought the team to the first major tournament. I do think from a footballing perspective, though, things need to evolve. Very, very defensive the whole time, and I think that needs to evolve, and we need to be more attacking. And from the 3 games, we've seen that we actually can compete with these top nations, but we need to kind of drive it on more. I don't know if she's the right person from a footballing perspective to do that. And then from a non-footballing perspective, I think there's just been too much drama over the last kind of year, and then specifically around the World Cup. And as you mentioned, there does look like there's been a massive divide between her and the players. The fact that the players haven't been kind of standing up for her in any of the media engagements kind of just says it all.
Yeah, that is the most damning of everything. Like, with regards to the drama, at international level, there's drama non-stop. Like, so whoever comes next will have a tiny little honeymoon period, and if results go well, great, but if they don't, then it'll be like, ooh, you're trying to change our playing style before we're ready for it. So,
yeah,
you know, I think that the specific handling of the athletic stuff ended up backfiring from Vera's perspective, and that seems to have been an issue, and it'll be interesting to hear what the players say if she does step down. But just on the football side of things, do we have the players to play a different style of football? Because either she gets credit for how we played in the World Cup, or she doesn't, and therefore, well, then she has to go anyway because she's not responsible for it, or we have evolved the style of play a little bit.
I think we have evolved. If you said it to me a couple of years ago, I'd be like, look, we don't have the players, or like, we're just not ready for it yet, but like, we're defensively solid. We've been working on that for years and years. And then we don't have like loads of players. Like, they don't have the depth in the squads to for that attacking side of things, but we do have a couple of players, and we need to utilise them better. Like, I don't think Denise O'Sullivan was utilised whatsoever in this World Cup, and I'm really disappointed for her. Like, she's a phenomenal player and a phenomenal athlete, and the fact that she was only given that licence in the last game, I think it's just shown that could have been done in the first and second game as well. And then obviously there's Katie, that is a world-class player, but there is other players that we've seen kind of really shown, like Kira Carusa has been like outstanding, I think, in this World Cup. Like, she was not even kind of a squad player, then a bit of a bench player, and then now she's kind of starting and she's doing a great job. And then lastly, I think Ruesha Littlejohn, like, she hasn't really been getting the same kind of credit that other players. I think she's had a phenomenal tournament as well. So there is the players there. I think it's just how you utilise them.
And does Vera Power not get credit for Carusa and Littlejohn? I suppose it feels a little bit like Philly was making the point outside earlier that, like, she is Dutch. She doesn't want to play defensive football. She wants to play like brilliant orange attacking football. And so I don't know. I'm wondering if we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater a bit here. Yeah.
I think she needs to believe more. Like, and even just try it. If we get battered 3-0, then go back and we'll start again, and kind of defensive side of things. But the girls, I'm looking at them, they play with a bit of fear, and they are kind of nearly afraid to make mistakes. That's just personally what I think. I feel like they just need to kind of get the shackles off them and let them go.
Sorry, we just on, if Vera Pauw is to leave, Julianne, like, are there any names you feel should or will be included in the conversation to replace her? We were discussing Tom Elms yesterday, of course, a League of Ireland background, and been with the under-16 girls team as well, and a bit of continuity, I guess. But would he be in consideration, or would anyone else come to your mind?
Yeah, I suppose, like, Tom's been there throughout the campaign, so like, he's experienced the kind of buzz of the World Cup, and he knows the players really well. I think, like, the coach education system in Ireland actually is really strong, so there probably is a lot of coaches out there that are both in the women's game and in the men's game that would be able to step up. None really come to mind top ahead for me. I suppose Eileen Gleeson could be up there. She was assistant manager to Vera as well. She's coached at a high level over in Glasgow, and now she's within the FAI. But I think whatever happens, the FAI need to, like, really sit down and really think about who would be a good candidate. It can't be a fast decision because it's a massive role, and especially where the team are now.
All right, Julianne, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
Thanks a million.
It's Julianne Russell giving us her thoughts on the campaign and on Niamh Fahey. Good to hear that she, fingers crossed, will be staying. It's 12 minutes past 9 if you want to get in touch with us. 0879 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. Up next, Ireland begin their final Rugby World Cup preparations when they take on Italy on Saturday night. And make sure you don't miss any of the action in Rugby Daily today in your OTB podcast network, bringing you everything you need to know about rugby. Get your favourite local restaurants delivered to your door with Deliveroo. Just open the app, browse some great offers, take your pick, and they'll take care of the rest. Deliveroo, food, we get it. Alan Quinlan's next.
You're listening
to OTB AM. Off the Ball Daily.
A home for your favourite podcasts from Off the Ball. The performance rankings, a slight tangent, the crappy quiz, and you had to be there.
This was my Desert Island discs, for years. I have my Desert Island discs there ready, and I had my 5. You had to be there ready as well.
Subscribe to the Off the Ball Daily podcast feed right now.
OTB AM.
The Sports Breakfast Show from Off the Ball.
Alan Quinlan, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks lads, and yourselves?
It feels like the World Cup kind of starts this week properly. The first World Cup warm-up is against Italy. There'll be very many nervous players hoping to at least be on the plane, and then after that there'll be ones who are trying to put their hand up for selection.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think it's an Ireland squad, Ger, that kind of certainly a team or 23 that nearly picks itself. It's a bit unusual that there's I suppose most squads are close enough at this stage of the public could pick what type of players will end up going. Is there anyone that kind of could shock us and get on the plane as well? There's 42 I think players at the moment in the squad, or 43. Something up around that in the 40s anyway, and that'll be whittled down to 33 in a couple of weeks. So it is a great opportunity for guys who are kind of on the fringes, and maybe it's hard looking at the whole squad to think what players will kind of push and get into the team. To be fair to Andy Farrell, what they've done the last 2 years has been exceptional, and the squad has been very, very settled. If you just look at what happened in the Six Nations, the injuries that happened, particularly, Finlay Bealham coming in, what happened in the centres, there was a bit of disruption there, and Ireland managed to win a Six Nations. So I think preparations have gone really well for the team. But these couple of weeks, I think, starting with Italy, if somebody kind of changes the mindset a little bit of the coaches, it's an opportunity for them.
It was interesting, Quinny, to hear Paul O'Connell talking during the week about the approach to training during this pre-season and how they've maybe managed it a little bit differently, a lot more ball work. I think he said there's some lads in this Irish camp that can maybe overdo it in training in terms of physicality.
I thought he was talking about historically.
Maybe, yes.
I was wondering who he might have been talking about, people training too hard and then being a bit flat at weekends.
Well, I suppose it's that's the intriguing part that for the listeners is the preparation here, because it's really vital. I think it's been so well documented what happened in 2007, and probably the results in France were so disappointing given the enthusiasm and the kind of expectation of that squad going to the World Cup. We were certainly flat, and there was something not right. I think we did a lot of rugby sessions in a lot of that summer, and a lot of them were full-on physical contact. So I read Paul's comments yesterday and listened to him talking about he would have been there right in the middle of that, and you have the enthusiasm for the players, and like at the time there was no one in the squad saying we're overtraining here. It was a very competitive kind of situation where players were trying to push each other hard, and maybe it was one of the reasons why we were a bit flat at the World Cup. We did a lot of heavy physical contact. The way the game has gone now with player welfare, no squads are going to be kind of battering each other in this, in the build up to these warm-up games. You're trying to limit the amount of contact you do. You have to get a sufficient amount in to be match ready. You can't just go into an international game and have no contact done. But a lot of that work would have been done maybe with pads. The live stuff in lineouts and scrums, it's just taking a little bit off that and being sensible. But you would hope that there's a lot of experience in that Irish squad, and they've looked really sharp and fit. I think if you look at all the squads, lads, Wales, and Warren Gatlin's probably always done this. They're very much releasing a lot of the kind of physical fitness work that they're doing. And I know, it's not a secret. Gatty just wants his team to be so fit, and their pre-seasons. I was part of pre-seasons under Warren Gatland with Ireland, and that was a big emphasis on him, just trying to be fitter than anybody else. But for Ireland, I think, they've all spoken about it being a lot of rugby-related stuff. That would be rugby-related fitness, and obviously trying to get their weights and stuff in between those sessions and around those sessions. So that's the intrigue really for any team is peaking at the right time, getting the requisite amount of rugby in, but also having that physical fitness and that intensity that Ireland want to play with to be able to do that from their training.
So no Battle of Bayonne this time?
Oh, the Battle of Bayonne. Yeah, I think that gets talked about, isn't it? Every kind of World Cup warm-up cycle for Ireland. It was well documented, wasn't it? We played Scotland and Italy that year in 2007 in the build-up to France, and I think it was a late fixture that Eddie was given the opportunity in the IRFU to go and play, and it seemed like a good idea at the time. It certainly wasn't anyone's fault, but I think that probably the issue was Wayne Barnes was refereeing the game, and it was a crazy job for him to do. But
Wayne Barnes looks like a child, by the way. He looks about 12.
Yeah, he had two local French touch judges who couldn't speak any English. So I think he's been quoted as saying every time there was a ball passed from a ruck, he had to kind of look over his shoulder because there was a scuffle happening. It was crazy. It was it was a really freakish game because right from the start, it was like as if they had decided they were going to absolutely kick the crap out of us, and that we should accept it. Obviously, when you're kind of preparing and getting ready to go to World Cup, you don't want to get sent off, you don't want to get cited, you don't want to miss the World Cup. And there was obviously the incident with Brian O'Driscoll in the second half of that game, after lots of scuffles and lots of verbals. And of course, I came on for about 25 minutes of that carnage of the second half, and I was trying to make a bit of an impact. So I was also trying to say, don't do something stupid. Don't be the one that gets caught here or throws a punch out in the open. And it's a regret of mine to this day, because the Kiwi second row for Bayonne, Makira Tiwata was his name, I think. There was a bit of a push and shoving match. It kind of all stopped, and just kind of out of the blue, he threw a punch and hit Dricko into the nose. And I was standing maybe a couple of feet away, and I progressed forward to it, and I had the right fist clenched, and I kind of regret to this day that I just didn't let fly, because he deserved it. And maybe I probably would have missed the World Cup, and it would have been another high-profile kind of suspension or something like that for me. But it was crazy. Bayonne was crazy. I do regret that I didn't throw that punch, because he would have deserved to get his head knocked off for what he did. It was totally unjust, to be fair. Dricko has his hands down by his side. He's captain of the team. He's trying to calm things down. He's trying to talk sense into some of us. Like, Neil Best was playing as well, and he was fairly fiery as well, and ready for action. And it was getting to the point of, right, okay, we're not taking any more of this, and it's just going to be an all-in scenario here. But I think the game got blown up a little bit early. We won 42-6, and but there was a doubt about Dricko for that World Cup. So there'll be no Battle of Bayonne. I think Italy on Saturday, it's a totally different scenario, and then England and Samoa. But I suppose the Samoa game, going back to Bayonne, it's probably not going to be on the same pitch, but it kind of does bring back memories of that 2007 game, which was just the weirdest game ever, to be honest.
Maybe missing the World Cup would have been much better for your reputation than.
But you know what? I genuinely think there's times where I've got myself into a bit of bother, and but that was a time where I thought this guy, he really, really, really deserved it. What he did was just, it was a cowardly act. Thankfully, Drico was okay, and there was. But the whole game was just crazy. They had Richard Dort playing as well, the French international, who was, trying to be a hard man throughout the game. I think he's done that throughout his career. I played against him a couple of times when he was playing with Cass from Munster, and he was tough. He was a good player, but if you stood up to him, he wasn't so brave all the time, But he set the tone with them really, and it was kind of crazy. It wasn't Eddie's fault. It wasn't anyone's fault. And you know what? It kind of brought us together a little bit in a sense that we kind of incited a little bit of anger internally, but unfortunately we didn't just get the performances of that World Cup in France. It was so disappointing. But the preparation games are important. You never know what's going to happen at a World Cup for any team. And as I said, Ireland want to start well on Saturday and hope that they don't have injuries. Historically, we've seen David Wallace, Jordan Murphy, Felix Jones, Tommy O'Donnell. There's a number of players, unfortunately, will have picked up serious injuries. So hopefully we have none of them on Saturday. Andy Farrell has a clean bill of health. And I suppose it's just managing that expectation now. But it's exciting for the players. They're in a great place, and they've shown a lot of resolve and steel to be able to deal with, being favourites. And everybody looking at them and scrutinising them. So hopefully they can start well on Saturday.
Would you expect surprises, Quinny? Like, I guess the England game would be the game where we'd see close to a full strength 15, you'd imagine, but for Italy, would you expect to see maybe a nice mixture of experience and also players that are close? Probably.
I don't know what Andy's thinking. When you've got a start of Romania, it gives you a little bit of an opportunity to maybe kind of hold a few players back for a couple of weeks. I think everybody will get game time. I think, but if you start with your full strength team and try and play them for a couple of weeks, that's not going to happen. I think everybody is probably going to get an opportunity here at some level. I think there's going to be a bit of a mixture scenario here because it's not going to be the strongest team for England and an A team essentially for Italy. I think it's probably going to be mixed up, and that'll give people who are on the fringes a fair crack at the whip. Italy have a game under their belts. Obviously, they were in Murrayfield last Saturday, and they're pretty physical, aggressive. There's a lot of players for both sides last Saturday who weren't starters in the Six Nations. So I think both Scotland and Italy started off with the so-called fringe players, guys who were trying to, get into a World Cup squad and get on their respective teams. So I would probably expect this to be a build-up over a couple of weeks.
I don't think we're going to see the full team out in one game, because what if they got beaten in a warm-up? Be like, no. We'll see the full team once, and that'll be for the first big game, and then after that we won't see anything but the first team, I think.
We nearly got beaten in Ravenhill in 2007 by Italy. That was a game where it was the last game before we went, I think, to France, and Rod scored a try in that game I think we won 23-19 or something like that, and it wasn't a try. He knocked it on, touching it down. I hope we don't see anything like that. Look, I think you never know with these games because you're kind of coming out of the blocks, and obviously players wouldn't have played games in a while. You in an ideal world, you'd want to start progressing over the next couple of weeks to a point where there isn't wholesale changes and you're building up towards the World Cup. Just look at Australia, where their results have been in the last few weeks in the Rugby Championship, and then Eddie Jones made lots of changes. So what is his best team? Who does he go back to now? You want to kind of have your progression building nicely over a period of time, and as I said, hopefully we don't have any injuries from players, because I think that's going to be a key part of the preparation for France, is trying to keep the Ireland players kind of fit and healthy. You never know. There's always going to be an injury or two here or there, but hopefully that's at a minimum.
We'll leave it there for now, Alan. World Cup starts this weekend, essentially. Thanks a million.
Cheers, lads. Thanks.
Alan Quinlan, give us his thoughts there. I think the team is going to play these and then head off to Portugal and then back over to France. So the Portugal thing is like a short, sharp,
bit of warm weather.
Good weather.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they have the indoor dome in the National Stadium or National Campus. But like, they'll have good ball handling skills.
Oh yeah, and the fitness will be...
lashes rain in France.
Yeah, that's true. The weather will be unpredictable, but at least the fitness levels will be strong. I'm going to the England game, so I'm hoping for... You're always hoping for... That's a Diviva. So that's the second of the three. The weekend after this, you just want to see the strong 15, don't you? But I guess the same for everyone heading to the warm-up games.
What if you play your strong 15 and England beat you?
Yeah, maybe you probably leave 3 or 4 or 5 players in reserve. You don't generally strong. Your strongest team, maybe 10 players.
I'd like to see Stockdale, if his form is close to what it used to be, being given a chance playing outside the regular 13.
Yeah. Maybe give Crowley a chance at 10.
I think.
Well, Sexton won't be there anyway, so you could play your best 14 against England and still say, well, Johnny wasn't playing.
I think there's a very good chance that Crowley is. I think there's a very good chance. I mean, we had this conversation with Andy Dunn when we did our depth chart, that like if Sexton's not playing, but and
you need him to strike up that bond, that relationship with Gibson Park as well. I'd like to see a bit of that before the World Cup.
Right. On tomorrow's show, Monaghan star Conor McManus joins us in studio. We look ahead to the Republic of Ireland's World Cup homecoming, plenty more besides. It's a whopper show for you right now. Irish swimming's next big thing. Daniel Whiffen joined Joe Malloy last night, fresh from a successful World Aquatic Championships in Japan. Have a whopper of a Wednesday too.
And obviously there is an Olympic Games very much on the horizon. Happy to say Daniel Whiffen has made the trek home from Japan now, and he's with us on the line. We appreciate the time. I hope the jet lag isn't too bad.
Yeah, nice to meet everybody. Yeah, it's okay. We just finished like our 30 hours of travel today, but I'm alive still, so that's good.
30 hours of travel. What do you do with 30 hours of thinking time?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was playing a lot of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I can tell you that I am a millionaire officially 3 times, which is great. But yeah, I mean, we were a couple of us who were flying, maybe around 10 of us, who flew back from Japan today. So we're just all talking basically for 30 hours.
Wow. Okay. Good man. Well, I'm tempted here to say congratulations. Is that the appropriate thing to say to someone who's finished 4th in 2 finals?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I definitely say congratulations.
Yeah, I would too, but I didn't know how you'd feel about them, because it's an amazing showing, and yet nobody wants to finish 4th in anything. But I'm glad you're seeing the upside there. It's a hell of an achievement.
Yeah, I mean, going into it, especially, I'd start off with PB'd and my 800 and my 1500 was just off, but coming away with the experience of being in those finals, which first time ever for me, and then I think the first time I'm the highest ever placing Irish swimmer in a world champs. I think we got 5th in like the 90s before, and then I've obviously moved into 4th, so not too bad.
To say the least. In the 800 metres, you beat the Irish record by 5 seconds. You're now the European record holder, and it seemed like just a very dramatic race. You're 22 years of age, so on the face of it, I was thinking, you're so young and you're only going in one direction. And yet then I looked, the winner of the race is 20, and then second is Sam Short, the teenager from Australia, so he's in his teens. I'm not sure what age Bobby Fink from America is, but it's a young person's game, swimming. At 22, you've got a teenager and a 20-year-old ahead of you, so they're also improving at a rate of knots, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you said, it's just a lot of young guys going for it, and especially, both events, they were both, you had 20-year-olds to 20, I think Bobby Fink's 23, so I'm definitely in that age mix, and I'm just trying to move along with the sport as well, kind of progress at the same time. So
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to do.
Because I saw you beat 2 of the medal winners from the Tokyo Games, an Italian and a Ukrainian swimmer. I'm not sure what age those guys are, but they must be saying, hang on, who are these kids?
Yeah, I think 27s-ish.
They're ancient. They're, old men.
Yeah.
But in swimming terms, that's extraordinary to have you at 22, a teenager, and a 20-year-old suddenly leading the way as we head into the Paris Games. I guess it's always been a little bit like that in swimming, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the sport's growing rapidly with all this new technology in terms of training and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised that younger people are getting faster. And I mean, pushing towards the world record, especially in the 1500. I think they just missed it by a point, half a second or something like that.
And when you say the technology, Daniel, to the uninitiated like me, you jump in a pool, you start swimming. I mean, maybe you have nicer goggles and maybe your togs are a bit more dynamic in the water, but technology and swimming don't jump out to me immediately.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like, I'm just talking about like what you wear, like the camera systems that we have in swimming pools these days. I train in Loughborough University in England, and we've got a whole 360-degree camera system, so I can literally look at my technique from any angle and pinpoint it and pick different parts which I want to change. I'll know instantly just from that camera system. So I say why technology just keeps evolving, because we're just using everything to try and get better.
How new is that technology?
I'm not sure how new it is, but it's fairly new, and I don't think a lot of people have it.
Okay, so you're one of the lucky few. And is there like an agreed, this is just the best technique, this is how you swim, so most swimming coaches in the world would look at your 360 view and be able to pinpoint what the issue is, or are there many different schools of what the best way to swim is?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's really up for the coach's opinion of what is going to be the fastest, but I think most of them, all strokes are going to be the same in terms of angles of where your hand goes underwater when you're pulling, stuff like that. But I mean, it can be different for everyone. I think everybody has their own different like little technique difference in the race, and so I guess it really is just what makes you go faster.
And how is it that you have this knowledge? How is it that you're so able to look at yourself and straight away see where the issue might be?
I think I put a lot down to my coach, I guess. He kind of knows what he's talking about, so I'm just trusting him of what he tells me to do, and maybe a bit of luck involved as well, that we've just tried something and it just seemed to work.
Was this an especially fast pool? I presume it's like tracks, you can have fast pools and slow pools. Just I'm so struck by the one race and you have the 4 fastest times in history. I'm not detracting from you guys whatsoever, please don't take it that way, but it is also an unusual feat.
Yeah, I think, what happens at the World Champs now is that they have like a pop-up pool. So the building that's in is probably not a swimming pool to begin with. It's just a kind of multi-purpose venue, and then they just stick a pool in there. They just build it. It takes probably 3 months. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously a fast pool because it's the World Champs pool. You've got those thick lane lines. You've got the 3 meters deep. And you've got the best blocks there, and everything's brand new. So it's I can say it's a very fast pool.
Are Olympic pools generally fast? Was Tokyo fast?
Yeah, it was fast. I think like every pool World Champs or Olympic level is all going to be the same, and they're all going to be fast.
Okay. And what makes a pool especially slow as a matter of interest?
So I'd say the depth of the pool. Most swimming pools you probably see are around 2 meters deep, where World Champs and Olympic pools are 3 meters deep, because that means that when you're swimming, the waves that you create will, like when they bounce off the walls, because it's deeper, that it's not gonna like bounce off the wall and then hit you, it's gonna like dissolve.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's that's why it's so much faster.
So you're clearly in great form. To swim this well against this level of competition is very eye-catching. Are you swimming now considerably better than ever? Or have you compare yourself to this time last year and the year before? Are we seeing a very different Daniel Whiffen in the pool?
Yeah, I mean, last year, if we compare World Champs to World Champs, last season I came 8th in the 800, and this year I came 4th, and I went 7:46, and this year I went 7:39. And then in the 1500 I was world champs. What was I? 14:57, and then I was 14:43, but my PB is 14:34. So
what do you put that improvement down to?
I guess just hard work, and I think it takes quite a while for you to see results in the 1500. Like I'd say, you could be training for 2 years and you could not see a result, and then you could drop it all the time suddenly because you just got that training block that you've just been doing, and then you finally got enough, like, I don't know, aerobic capacity or whatever to then post some fast times. So that's what I put it down to, is just the work I've been doing in training.
I know you're in your final year of your science studies over in Loughborough University, and obviously you're juggling the training as well. So how intense is the training? I mean, you swimmers like to get up early for a start. How many times are you in the pool a day? How many hours a day?
We've got 2 2-hour sessions a day. Sometimes they run over. A lot of the time they run over, to be honest. And it could be, I'd say, 16 to 20k, depending on what part of the season we're in, a day. And then we've also got a gym, like a strength and conditioning session in between as well. And then sometimes an ab circuit too. So you could be working for about 6 hours a day. And then every day, apart from Sunday, you get Sunday off. So that's good.
Very generous of them. I promise you this is the only instance in the interview where I'll compare my experience of swimming with yours, because I dare say they're very different. But of any exercise I would do, I mean, I wouldn't say like jogging rocks my world necessarily either, but I do find swimming the most mentally boring. There's just obviously very little to look at. So are you bored out of your mind at times swimming, or are you so concentrated on working on technique at every stroke that you find it very absorbing, or do you struggle with the boredom of, well, I'll be honest, Daniel, pretty much the same view every day?
Yeah, I think, well, everybody's going to deal with that boredom, I guess, in the pool, but it depends, I guess, who you're training with. I train with my twin brother, Nathan. Makes it a lot more exciting anyway, because we're probably just racing everything, so you're always concentrating then. And then, but yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm probably going to see like a Tuesday night session in the middle of the week, not even halfway, and I'm probably looking at it like, gee, we've got the rest of the week to go. I'm only on Tuesday, but a lot of time you just dive in, get that session done, and you're great after. You feel better after doing it than you do before. So
okay, so it's not like, to be fair, it's not like even you, an Olympian, you're enjoying every second of it.
No, definitely not enjoying every second, but I'd say I do love swimming. I think it's definitely one of the best sports out there, so I think that's why. Yeah.
So tell us about your twin brother then, because he's at an elite level as well, Daniel.
Yeah, he is. Well, so he's catching up now, to be honest. We didn't swim the same event, and because I think my parents are like trying to split us up because we probably argue too much.
Okay, you're sort of like you're like the Klitschko's. Mum said no.
Yeah, but now he's decided that, you know what, I'm going to swim the same event as me. So he's doing decent. He won Irish summer nationals while I was away in Japan. He got like a massive PB, and he's qualified for European short course and the World Championships in February or March. I'm not sure what date they're at.
Yeah.
And he's obviously on a great trajectory to qualifying for the Olympics, which will be pretty cool to see both of us there.
Okay, well, that would be amazing. And the background, Daniel. So I was reading you were both started swimming as babies up in Lisburn, and basically been at it ever since. The family moved over from Leeds when you were a youngster, is it? And then
two.
Okay, and then it's been coming through the ranks at Lisburn ever since.
Well, yeah. So
yeah. The English accent has held in there. Is that because the family, or am I just mishearing you, or is this a Loughborough thing?
Okay, I'd say some words I say, like people say, gee, you got a real heavy Northern Irish accent, and then some words I'll just like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I moved back over for university, and then when I come back over for Northern Ireland, I come back over for a month now. And then I'll get the accent back, and then I'll just keep going back and forth. So to be honest, you'll probably hear so many different accents from me.
Right, okay. And are your parents big into swimming as well, or is this like a slightly unexpected pleasant surprise to them that they have like potentially several Olympians in the pool here?
Yeah, well, my mum used to swim, but nothing to like a high level, and my dad never swam, so maybe I guess it's a surprise. Yeah, I'd say it's a surprise.
Yeah, I think so. How did you find the Olympic experience in Tokyo?
Oh, amazing. I mean, it's pretty cool to go back to Japan. I kind of don't want to go back to Japan again, though. The flights are just too long for me.
Yeah, you can only be a millionaire 3 times, I think. That's enough.
Yeah. But it was amazing. Loved every second of it. The village, the whole experience of just experiencing that was great. And we had actually a decent sized team there. We had it was 9 of us or something like that. Swimmers there, so pretty cool to have that. A lot of others to experience it with, and then also just going in and smashing it up as well in the pool. I think I came like 14th, and in the 1500 I came 23rd. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
My mum actually told me that today, because the day I did my 1500 final was also the day that I did my 1500 heat in Tokyo. So in 2 years I progressed from 23rd to 4th. So I thought it was pretty cool.
That is more than pretty cool, yeah. And I'm right in saying as well at the games that the swimmers have the luxury of being out first, so they don't have to wait around for a week or 8, 9, 10 days getting nervous. They get straight in there, and then frankly they just party for the rest of the games when everybody else is doing their stuff. It's kind of best event to be in at the games, I think, is swimmers.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. Well, swimming is like one of the biggest sports, I guess, at the Olympics. Everybody just seems to want to watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't. To be honest, in the Tokyo Olympics, we had to leave literally straight away after finishing.
Of course, COVID. Sorry, I'm forgetting. So not the party games, the Tokyo ones. In fairness.
Yeah, but maybe you're right. Maybe I'll experience this now. I'll qualify for Paris, so I'll be going on I'm on the plane for that.
Yeah.
Did you experience that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear it's a lot of fun. So hopefully you get that experience this time around. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering when you first started swimming, did you all just show amazing promise? Like, do you remember thinking, my God, here I am at 7, 8, 9 years old. I'm pretty much the fastest here of all my mates in the pool. Like how did you reach this level? Because swimming is one of those sports, obviously, where you can be genetically gifted, and then you also have to train incredibly hard. Where were you in that spectrum? Was it obvious at an early level that you were super talented?
Yeah, well, I think the audience is gonna like this, because I was absolutely if you looked at me when I was 12, 13, you would have thought there was no chance that he was going to be able to swim at all.
Right. I
remember I did a talk in April to a bunch of younger swimmers from each of the counties, and I was just telling them about this, and then my old pathway coach was there, and he was telling me that he just couldn't believe how far I progressed, because he said, looking at me in those lessons and when I was starting to swim, he was like, there's just no way you would have achieved so much, because just looking at the way you were swimming, it was terrible. Basically. It's a bit harsh, but all right. But yeah, I mean, so I wasn't really good. I think I just worked hard, and I've always had these big dreams of world records, Olympic golds, so I mean, I just kept that in the back of my mind, and also having a twin brother kind of pushes you as well.
Okay, so amazing. So it was more gradual but steady improvement, as opposed to preternaturally talented earlier on, or a sudden clicking when you were 12.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't anything special when I was 12. I did make a couple junior competitions for Ireland, but I wasn't like the top swimmer or anything like that. Wow. And I'd say I probably only broke out when I came to university.
Wow, that's extraordinary. So this Olympic journey, quite unexpected. And were you like swimming obsessed when the games were on over the last number of years? I mean, is your bedroom adorned with Michael Phelps posters? Are you that kind of kid?
No, I don't really have Michael Phelps posters. I can't lie, I've got a lot of photos of myself in my room from the Olympics.
Okay.
But nothing before that.
So you weren't a super fan?
No, I wasn't a super fan. I mean, I do watch a lot of swimming because I'm a fan of the sport, and I just like to do a lot of research as well on how to get faster. But no, I'm not a super fan, but I'd say I actually could probably classify myself as a super fan now.
And who, as a matter of interest, who has the technique, the best swimming technique, of the last 20 years, say, and including the present generation? Who do you look at and say, "Ooh, that is proper technique"?
Oh, I don't know. I've really got so much different technique. I like to actually say that my technique's the best, I reckon. Because
so Daniel, posters of yourself in your room and your technique is the best in the world. You got to have confidence.
Yeah, I guess I got the confidence, but I just try to think of people. Everybody's technique is kind of different, and I guess it's what you think looks the nicest. It's like very opinionated, and I think personally my stroke looks the nicest.
Okay, so you're an elegant, pretty swimmer. Yeah,
but I think it could be improved too. So that's what I'm going to try and looking for. You can always tell on the photos after the race.
Okay.
If you got that perfect half in, half out goggle line when you're breathing on your stroking, and it looks class, that's what you're looking for.
Right. Okay. So goggle half in, half out.
Yeah.
That's perfection. And if, I don't want to lower you here, but if you had to say, who might be second to Daniel Whiffen in terms of technique of the last 20 years, is there anyone else that you thought, there's a real elegance there? Or it can just be for sheer speed that it mightn't have even been a pretty stroke. I don't know if prettiness and effectiveness go hand in hand necessarily.
Well, in my event, I'd say Florian Wellbrock, the German. He's a world record holder short course in the 1500. His stroke is amazing. And in terms of if you want something like not out of my event, the complete opposite 50 freestyle, there's an Australian called Cam McAvoy. He's probably got one of the best strokes ever. Fastest even.
Yeah. So. It's funny, like in certain sports, I think, like if I saw David Beckham kicking a ball at 10, I think I'd pick it out. And if I saw Rory McIlroy, if you see McIlroy's golf swing at 4, like that young, there's a DNA to it. It's however much he's been coached, however much he's worked with different people, there is just an intrinsic DNA because of his way of doing it, but also like the length of your arms versus your waist versus your legs. You just have a certain swing. Is it the same in swimming? Is it just like at a certain point you can work, but you just have a DNA?
Yeah, well, we've actually had this argument so many times in my squad, because I'd say like majority of swimmers are like 6'4", benchmark, long arms, long legs, long torso. You just gotta be like, I don't know what it is, especially the long arms. You notice, like, I don't know, my arms are huge compared to my height. It could be 6'9" or something like that.
Right.
I'm 6'4", so.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, look, it sounds like you're making the most of the gifts you've been given. Paris is just around the corner. It sounds like you're in amazing shape. I mean, 4th in 2 finals. I saw you saying, do you have a strong preference, 800 or 1500?
I prefer the 8, but the 15 seems to be going my way at the moment.
Yeah, it does. So the plan for the next year, train your backside off, get ready for Paris and see what you can do, I guess.
Yeah, that's completely it. Just give it. Well, I'm actually competing again in a week and a half here in Dublin at the European Under-23s Championships.
Yes.
Go in there, smash out, get a couple of medals, and then take a nice 2 weeks off, and then get straight back into training and go for gold in Paris.
Listen, I love it. Pleasure to talk to you. We just wanted to touch base because your performances last week were obviously so brilliant, and congratulations on them. Daniel Whiffen, let's talk again. Take care. I've sat through some appallingly boring soccer games and rugby games over the last couple of years as well, like appallingly dull. So I don't know, maybe that might be a slightly grim note of optimism.
Oh geez, I hope not. I hope that's not a resolution to this. Joe, I think what Quinlan just said there is the crux of this, and I think it's so important that we define what actually is the issue. Like, what is it that we want Gaelic football to be, because before you go tweaking, when I was in college, I actually the current rule tries that are going to be played in freshers football next year, we experienced those. This is a rehash of stuff that was done previously. The people you mentioned that Roscommon 6 minute spell there. People, that the hand pass is a constantly a source of complaint. But I think the ratio there was nearly 1-to-1 in terms of kick passes and hand passes, in terms of how Roscommon retained possession. The hand pass isn't the issue there. The issue is the fact that they're retaining possession. It's control.
Yes.
There's too much control in Gaelic football. So what we want to do is incentivise teams to try and force more turnovers. Exactly as Cullum said there, the majority of scores come from turnovers, because that's when the game is slightly more unstructured. There's open space, players can go and take people on. So you need to incentivise that. That's what you need to prioritise. And how do we do that is the ultimate question. Like, do you... a constant thing now is teams won't press up high anymore. Loud certainly wouldn't do that. So how do you incentivize teams to press high? Do you stop them from back passing to the goalkeeper? Because then suddenly you can trap a team. You can force them in the same way Dublin did to Monaghan. Dublin, actually, ironically, the best example is twice this year they pressed high, forced turnovers. They did it against Monaghan and they did it to Gavin White at the weekend. So can you enforce that? One thing from the weekend, David Goff he let the game flow and he was a lot more open to allow the tackle. And I think if you had more of a robust tackle, I'm not saying to go to this extreme, but let's say for argument's sake you had an AFL tackle where I could go and wrap you with both arms and drag you down. Immediately I'd be chasing you all over the field, because the chance of me getting a turnover is way higher, and then suddenly it's you have the ball but I'm hunting you to get it back, and then I have the ball and you're doing the same, and you would inject a huge degree of excitement that way. So I don't think it's
Morris, I'm ready. I'm ready to pass that motion right now and just watch the carnage for a year.
But I do think that until we define what is actually the issue, rather than there's so much talk about the hand pass or fisted points or controlling possession, and then suddenly if you can tackle that, but we're all in agreement that there is an issue. I don't necessarily think we're all in agreement as to what actually that issue is, and that it's really important to define that.
I feel this All-Ireland will be quite well remembered.
Sure, look at, I think James McCarthy said it, and I'd say for a good share of it's the best one probably of them all, apart from your first, first is obviously always special, but it was an enormous All-Ireland for them really when you look at it in the round. And I was chatting to somebody before the game. I was chatting to Joe Marahertig, now of West Kerry, from Dublin, and Clare, and journalist, and we were talking about Kerry in the mid-80s, when Kerry lost to 5 in a row in 82 and came back in 84. And Joe was they won 3 in a row when they came back, but we were saying they only needed to win one really to kind of settle what had been raised by, again, the parallels of history. That Kerry team only lost 2 games really. They lost the All-Ireland final in 82 and they lost the Munster final to Cork in 83. Same as Dublin now, this time around. Dublin lose 2 All-Ireland semi-finals. But the question arises, Kerry come back that time with a little infusion of new blood. Dublin the same this time over a couple of years. So it does so many things, this All-Ireland title. Number one, it confirms it settles any anxieties they had themselves over the previous couple of years. Colin mentioned there about Brian Fenton kind of mulling over being the man that was close to the German O'Connor. This is how these guys, that's how they won 6 in a row, because they'll mull over the stuff that went wrong. They'll mull over the stuff that they need to do better all the time, and that's probably what drove that generation on. And the talk over and again, I've heard anyway since Sunday night, has been, it wasn't so much about putting a 9th in James McCarthy's pocket and Cluxon and Fitzsimons. It was about putting a 1st or a 2nd medal in some of the younger lads. So now that there's a standard set for them, and now they know, even if Dublin go into a dip or whatever in the next decade, the boys are there, they know what it takes to win an All-Ireland. What it does as well is, I doubt if Dublin were thinking this way, but now they can think this way. So if Kerry had won it, you're looking at 3 in a row next year, and all of a sudden we're having a completely different conversation about where this particular Kerry team lies in the pantheon. But now it's a 1. We're looking at Dublin have won 1. No one is really seriously saying Dublin are shoe-ins for 2 in a row, because they're waiting to see who's going to be left standing next January. And then when you look behind, the pack is so close that suddenly, the idea that going from 3 in a row, suddenly the climb back for Kerry, and I'm not saying they'll be right there next year, obviously, again, but the climb back from where they were last Sunday evening and the possibilities to getting those possibilities again is now enormous. So Dublin will take a lot. Dublin will take a lot from that. and the fact that they've said, I think it's one of the most important All Ireland's Dublin have won in the modern era, and I mean in the last 70 years is what I mean by that. Like it puts a flag for the guys that come next if things do go into a dip, and that's not to say they will.
I would say this year, more than any, in my time doing the show anyway, people are just hating the style of football in far too many games.
Yeah, I think it's probably crossed the line somewhere along the way now, and I think it's obviously partly driven as well by the fact that people are seeing more football and there's more conversation around it, and all the rest of it. But yeah, like, I mean, you said 20 years. I mean, look, football has been in a state of almost damaging self-analysis probably since they put rules on it, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, even the great games that people recall as great games, were maybe remembered and analysed in a different way back at the time. But
you might remember, I presume through the 90s, which for me, my childhood were just colour and excitement, I presume on the TV, were they going back to punditry saying this game is rubbish, what a terrible game that was?
Well, they were, because I mean, what you had at that time was probably, and Colm could probably weigh in this better than I could. Colm, I think, started in the business a couple of years before I did, but I can remember in the early 90s, like, by the way, I thought football during the 90s was terrible, okay, when you look back on it now. I mean, some good games, but I mean, by and large, it was bad.
Yeah.
But you also had, at the time, you had a group of players coming into the media, so you're talking Pat Spillane, Colm O'Rourke in particular, who were beginning to analyse the game in a particular way, far more analytical and far more, I want to say cutting, but I don't mean cutting, just they said it as they saw it, which was a difference from what went before. So suddenly people started looking at football in a slightly more critical light and started knowing, well, is this actually good? And it's actually not good. And then you had the whole debate during the 90s about the knockout system, the fact you only had one game and the commando train that went on, and was the football any good in that one championship game, and so on and so forth and so forth. So like, you had that. So then coming into you mentioned, like, coming into the noughties, I mean, the game has evolved. To me, I would have always have been of the view that the game will evolve itself whatever way it's going to go, and from the noughties through, you had some brilliant coaches, skill levels went up, fitness levels went up, everything will eventually evolve around to a good product, even when people were criticising it at the time, say, 3 was throwing our man, different things like up the years.
OTB AM.
The Sports Breakfast Show from Off the Ball.